upstairs in my pantry. I get so much shit from my friends because, so Christina, my fiance, she is sober. She doesn't drink at all.
Oh, good for her.
So yeah, she just didn't like being drunk, but it was actually for health purposes.
Mm.
Because she's a type 1 diabetic and stuff like that. So she, for that reason, I don't keep any of the beers in the fridge. So anytime I have some of my buddies over, they always roast me how warm my fucking beers are.
Hey, whatever. Hey, but Modelo's are good. I like Modelo's.
Yeah, dude, I'm a big Cerveza guy for sure.
Nice.
It's got to have a lime in it.
Yes, dude. Well, it's Corona season right now, baby. Like we are deep into
Hell yeah,
Corona
dude.
season.
I'm thriving, dude. I don't get weird looks at the bars, dude. Everybody's drinking Coronas. It's awesome.
Right. A little bit different when it's like January.
Right.
And you're like, hey, you like what you like, though.
Right.
Well, hey, before we get too deep into this, Mr. Payton Warner, you want to introduce yourself and just, give a little blurb. And actually, the blurb I want you to give is how would you define yourself at this moment in life? If you were to like kind of give like a sentence or two, maybe use some key words.
Damn, that's crazy. All right, my name's Payton Warner. I am a creator, I would say. Yeah, for sure. Creator. I do a lot of creating every day. So
Excellent. What does being a creator mean to you?
Yeah, so I think part of it is problem solving. Part of it is being inventive for sure, and the third part of it would just be adding your own flair to it. So what I do exactly is just like video editing. I do a lot of that, but I work with, I would say, people that are established in their industries that are maybe disruptors that are newer to social media. They want to post and share things about their lives, but they're not exactly sure how to approach it. So me and my fiance help give creative direction as well as edit their content, because a lot of it comes in the post. Like anybody can sit down and record, but certainly knowing how to edit, knowing where things place, knowing how to add your own flair to it, I think is a huge part of what I do. So there you go.
Very nice. Yeah, well, that was definitely one of the challenges when I first started this pod. Was there's not too much to edit in terms of like the actual episodes. For the most part, I just let it rock. And if there's a bathroom break or whatever, then I cut it out, or handful of things. If a guest is like, "Hey, can we cut this part out? I don't like it," and I'm like, "Okay, I don't give a shit." But when it comes to cutting clips and posting on social media, that's a whole different ball game, because you're trying to figure out, one, is this interesting? And like, so for example, as someone who does this, you tell me if this is good what I do. So
okay,
I get a transcript of the pod in addition to like the audio and the video, so I can search topics that I know we covered, and I'll select more than I know that I need. And if I mention something more than once, which sometimes happens in conversation, and that's natural, then I'll try and edit it out if it's like redundant or something. Cut out the filler words, cut out the ums, the uhs, all that stuff, and try and basically get it to between. And it also depends on, is this TikTok? Is it YouTube? Is it Instagram? Like, how long is it going to be? I really don't change for either of them, and I know I probably should, but try and cut it down to like 20 seconds to a minute, and that's really about it. And it's challenging, dude, because you're like, ooh, does it still pack a punch if I cut this much stuff out? Is this clip even good? And that's sort of the process. So how similar to
dude, that's the whole art of it.
Okay,
we got to get you a lookup guy. You know what I mean? Like somebody like during the pod, you can be like, Jarvis, look that up, please.
Bro, let me tell you. Step 1, studio. Step 2, lookup guy.
Yeah, dude, you need a lookup guy.
Order of operations.
Jarvis, zoom in on this guy's mustache, please. You need a yeah, definitely a lookup guide. No, but in terms of like how your workflow is, that's pretty spot on. Definitely transcripting the podcast is huge. I mean, that you cut so much time right
Oh
off
my
there.
God.
But yeah, cutting out the filler words, finding what's interesting. It's really difficult, especially like in terms of a joke. It's like, all right, well, you need build up to the
Right.
punchline, but you know that the audiences today, just their attention spans are so like low.
It's
It's
got to
like,
be quick.
yeah, right. But you do need like the build up. So, it is making things interesting. Like you're curating something for the viewers. So,
Yes.
it's definitely a process. But, that's what I said earlier about adding your own flair and twist. Like, people are going to come for you. They're going to come for, your direction or what you find funny, when you're building an audience. So, that's kind of like you're building a trust with your viewership. So I feel like the larger your viewership gets, the more that trust builds. So you can add longer, like, more build
Right.
up. The attention span will be longer because you
They're a little
have
bit more
built that
invested.
trust. Yeah, for sure. But yeah, at the beginning, yeah, the punchline's got to be flying like bullets, dude, because those fuckers scroll after a second.
No doubt, no doubt.
Yeah.
So when you're working with, so what sort of things, you said they're disruptors. What sort of, I guess, define disruptors, and then what sort of things are these people doing that you are editing for and doing all this shit for?
Yeah, certainly. So I'll give you an example for one of my clients. I won't say her name. We'll just call her Bobby Atoff. Um,
Perfect.
uh,
Bobby A.
no, no. So for this person, she is a copyright. So for that in general, not necessarily like a super interesting
What's a
industry.
copyright?
Uh,
Look up guy.
look up, Jarvis. Look that up, please. Um, no, essentially my understanding of her work is that she helps like she's kind of like an English major, to put it in a sense. Like she's
Okay.
helping you market and brand and write things down, make sure
Okay.
things are like phrased in a way that might be appealing to your audience, stuff like that.
Dang.
And that's my low hanging fruit grasp of it. I'm sure there's so much more complexity
Hey,
to
that's
it.
all I need, baby.
Yeah.
So
So
how do you approach this person?
yeah. So uh, she wants to do a video that's a trend right now on TikTok of like people that are like in the jungle. It's like being narrated by the British dude, and it's kind of like a lifestyle video where you're like, like your Animal Planet narration, but it's your
Mm-hmm.
lifestyle. But now
Yep.
you're a copyright, so you have to do it as a copyright. So how I approach it, essentially, how the workflow would go is kind of give her some direction of like maybe these are some shots you could consider when filming, but like if you feel really drawn to film something, like just take notes, write yourself a script, and let me know if there are things that you would love to incorporate, or things that you think are funny. You'd like to emphasize, and I might tell you maybe that's not funny.
Sure.
But usually I'll try to see it out, see the vision out. It's better to see it out than
Uh-huh.
to immediately judge anything. But anyway, so they'll go and they'll film, then they'll give it to me. I'll create it and put it together and try to add and make funny pauses, because I think with a lot of these people, like in their industry, they're so serious because I mean they've established themselves that they think their content should be really serious, when in actuality, uh, what I've seen at least, that most the conversions, like the videos that get the most conversions, are the ones that are hilarious or have like a funny aspect to them because they're the most engaging.
Right.
Most people are gonna scroll after like a serious video. They might save it for later. They'll be like, "I'll come back for it." I mean, I'm sure. I don't know if you've had this experience on social media, because I do it all the time. Where you'll save something, you'll be like, "Oh, I want to watch this later," and you just never watch it
Dude,
later.
I have a saved library that has never been viewed.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah,
There might be like a couple of posts early on that were like when I had some hip or low back issues years ago that I saved and then did look out to reference
yeah.
those for stretches or some shit.
Okay,
But
there you go. A little callback.
yeah, but for the most part, I'm like, oh, that's funny, or oh, that's like if. like David Goggins or like some hardcore shit that just like
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, that's awesome. That's like some inspiration. I'll save it and then never watch it again.
Dude, the best is when you do decide to go back and look through all your stuff, like when you're with your friends, because I'll save like a lot of things I find funny on like TikTok. Like
Hmm.
you can screencast your phones to the TV, be like, all right, bro,
Nice.
I
Oh
got.
yeah,
They
that's
try to
fun.
curate a little playlist for you.
Uh huh.
Um, but anyways, and in terms of the other part of the question of like
Disruptor.
disruptor, yeah, I would say that somebody who's not doing their job the traditional way. To revert back to like the example of like the copyright, she goes and visits her clients in person. She sits down and writes with them instead of like being virtual.
Hmm.
She's very like hands on and like very trying to understand their goals, what they're trying to do, maybe run some drafts by them, see what they like, but also like curating to like her knowledge of like, I really think you should incorporate X, Y, and Z, you know. Again, my loose understanding as a copyright, but she is, you know, my understanding is that they typically it's virtual. You send it in. It's almost like AI, you know, like you type
Hmm.
up a prompt and they'll reword it for you. But
Right.
yeah, not what she's doing. So somebody who's not doing it the traditional way, or
Very
somebody
cool.
who's doing their job in a way that maybe it should be done, or you know, just unique. So that's what I would say by disruptor.
Nice. Is that a phrase you coined or a term you coined?
No, but it just sounds really cool, doesn't
It does. It does. When you said, it, I was like, "Ooh, disruptors in the
it?
industry. That sounds cool. I want to be a disruptor."
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah. No, it's yeah, it's not a phrase I've coined, but I have heard it before, and you know, it. You could even just say it's somebody you know who's established but not doing it the traditional way.
Very nice. Very nice. So, you and I were talking a little bit before this. What what exactly was the origin? Like, your fiance was working on some stuff. What made you feel like you had the skill set to be like, yeah, I'm diving in on this?
Oof, I'm in, dude. It's a long process. Ironically, therapy.
Nice.
I started going to therapy because unfortunately a huge tragic event happened in my life 2 years ago, and started going to therapy for it. And during therapy, I realized that there were a lot of problems or a lot of things I had really buried underneath that were really bothering me. I didn't
Mm.
even know like were problems or things that was bothering me. The biggest one was judgment from others. Just like
Hmm.
I've been bullied for so long, just afraid of like prosecution from other people's thoughts and their feelings. And so what started as like a creative outlet for just like me posting on like social media, just like things I thought were funny and stuff like that, was more of like a like therapeutic outlet where I was just like,
Mm.
I don't, you know, it's like shedding like all this like pent up like worrying so much about what other people care and feel about me. It was just like I'm just going to do something I think is fun, and I don't really care, you know, what others say or think. And yeah, it was awesome. So that's kind of how I started my brand, and my personal TikTok was just like through that outlet. And then I just kept going. And obviously, I mean, we talked before, I went to college for uh, artistic influences in advertising. So I took a lot of film classes, and I used a lot of like film programs. And you know, so a lot of this editing and you know things that go into editing came kind of naturally to me. And obviously, I was a little rusty, so I got better as time goes on. I'm still getting better.
Sure.
And yeah, my fiance was already doing this on the side. She has like three businesses, so this was one of the things that she was doing, and she really wanted to grow it. So we're like, why don't I quit my job and join you, and we will rebrand and start a new business together.
What's it going to be called?
Still working on it right now. Her business was called Roboco, which I do kind of like. It's kind of hard because our clientele right now is predominantly women, so we probably need to pick a name that would reflect that. Um, I really like cowboys. Dude, I love the whole western thing. I love and luck is a really big thing. Like people really like 777s, like luck, anything that revolves around that.
Mm.
So trying to find something that fits that theme. That's like has like a Western aesthetic, a theme of luck that is also just appealing in general to maybe our target
Hmm.
demographic. It's been a little bit of a struggle. I use Chat GPT a lot. We've tried to get Chat to help us out, but nothing's really stuck so far. So we'll see. Roboco is
Hmm.
the name for now. I'm still building a website, um,
Cool.
which is awesome. Uh, ChatGPT is awesome, dude. I had to do
It
coding for the
is.
website, and I ChatGPT did all the coding for me. I just told them what I wanted, and they got it done. It's crazy. So
Incredible.
yeah, very incredible. But anyways, so not to get on a random tangent, but yeah, we're still trying to find a name. I think it'll come to us. We are doing a lot of branding shoot coming up here in less than a week now. We're flying to Vegas because she has a conference there, and we're going to do some branding shoot there, and that's going to go on the website. So
Cool.
we're definitely staying with the aesthetic, just trying to find the name. I think is the last piece of the puzzle.
Gotcha. So how would you define your aesthetic, and then what sort of shots do you shoot for a company such as that? Where
Yeah,
you're building influencers.
yeah, that's fair. Well, she actually just finished the whole content creation schedule and list. I still have to review it, so I'm gonna go through it and I'm gonna tell her what I think will work in terms of like shooting and stuff
Hmm.
like that. What I think will play and what I think maybe we could add to that. So I'm not quite sure, to be honest with you. I have a really grand vision for the website, know exactly how I want it to look, because there's a couple like really cool directors and like film websites that have like these like director websites, and there's one I want to model it off of. Uh, so I know what I want it to look like. It's going to be a little bit more like high pace, a little bit more actiony. It's going to like the whole screen, the whole splash page is going to be like a lot of video shots showcasing our editing prowess,
Sure.
but also just like trying to be, a lot of movement is where I'm going at. So that could
Super
just
kinetic.
be, yeah, could be like high shot of a rolled X rolling, or you know what I mean, like
Hmm.
some card tables. We'll see. Definitely a lot of neon lights. I think that will kind of fit into the Western aesthetic.
Yeah,
Um,
I get that.
I think unfortunately the whole cowboy aesthetic is gone.
Yeah, but I mean, you can sneak it in there in terms of vibes with Western.
Oh, I snuck it into, so I did redesign myself the Roboco logo
Uh-huh.
since we're gonna keep it temporarily, which maybe we'll just keep the name. I don't necessarily hate it. I like that it's like three syllable.
What does it mean, Roboco?
It's a, what do they call that? An antigram. It's a combination of words combined together. And it was used for her original editing company because, like I said, some of the clients we have now are from that. So yeah, I I don't know. I think it's like Rage Bolus, maybe something something. I'd have to ask her, but yeah, it
Hmm.
was unique to her. So we're trying to find something that's like unique to us.
Sure, sure. That's just like a marriage, right? You're the
Yeah,
merging,
yeah,
merging
for
the
sure.
two. Excellent.
No, but yeah, we'll see. The cowboy aesthetic's probably gone, but the themes of luck I like. Maybe get a slight western aesthetic in there. Oh yeah, I was gonna say with the Roboco thing, um, with the new logo that I created, I had like a nice like it's hard to describe, but slice through the logo, kind of like a bullet shot, just
Okay.
piercing the letters. Um, that was how I snuck in a cowboy thing, but otherwise, yeah, you
Oh,
would never
okay.
know.
Gotcha. I see what you're saying.
Yeah,
Very cool.
yeah, you never
So,
know.
wh- when because you built your major, you got to design it. When do you consider the rise of the influencer? Because I feel like now they're just so baked into our culture. I kind of can't remember when they started becoming a thing. But
Yeah.
did you have some sort of insight? Did you know this was coming, or is it just by chance that your major sort of shares similarities and and that sort of thing?
Definitely by chance. I don't know. It's kind of funny. Like, I feel like a lot of things I've done in my life have really led to this. Like, to give you an example, in our high school that we both went together, we did capstone,
Yep.
and my capstone was on comedy specifically, but it specifically was my specialty in comedy was always video editing and
Mm.
creating videos. So when I did my capstone project, I would do 15 minutes of stand up, show a video, another 15, show a video, end it on a 15, end it on a video. So I would like incorporate videos into my like stand up work. And I was
Mm.
always kind of like working on funny videos. And so I think in college, when the part of the reason I created my major was because the major that I was in, which I forget it off the top of my head, let's just call it business. It was a business major. We
Uh-huh.
had to do shit. What was that thing called? Well, anyways, we had to do a huge class in business where it only a select few of people were uh, able to do it every year. They had like a limited amount of people that are able to do
Hmm.
it, and you needed it to graduate. And
I
you have
remember some of my friends going through this. Yeah.
yeah. I can't. It's cluster. I think that's what it was called. So
Yes,
there was
that's what it
yeah,
was.
that's
It
what it
was
was.
cluster.
Yeah.
Nice.
So yeah, I didn't get into cluster my first try, and I was also like, I don't even really want to do this. Fuck this. So I was talking to my counselor, and they're just like, we are offering this brand new program where you can like create your own major. And I told one of my best friends about it because he didn't get in cluster either. I was like, do you just want to create majors together? He's like, yeah. So
Let's
that's what we
go.
did, and that's when I could kind of shift because I was like, I originally went to school for art, and so a lot of those credits were just going to go to waste. But I was like, I could, incorporate art into my degree. Those credits would come back online, and then I could take even more art classes. So in college, took more and kind of went from there. In terms of like your original question, sorry to go on a tangent there,
No,
but
that's what I mean. This is
uh,
this is the point of it.
yeah, fair enough.
Mhm.
The rise of the influencer is hilarious. I mean, obviously we've seen like influencers start like at YouTube. I think that was
Mhm.
a really big one because people
Definitely.
could be independent, not be controlled by anything, just kind of put shit out there and see what sticks. But that didn't draw any money in the early days. So there was, I think people were just kind of doing it for fun. Vine was a huge one too. I
Yes.
mean, Jake Paul went to OU with us, or
Logan Paul.
Logan Paul.
Logan
Yeah,
Paul. Yeah.
he was roommates with one of the guys in my fraternity. He said he hated him because all he was doing was like prank videos. He would like prank him
Right.
all the time. He's like,
Yes.
this guy fucking sucks.
Yeah, dude, that's so funny. So I don't think I've told the Logan Paul story on here, but my freshman year, my buddy Alex sent me a video. It was a Vine of Logan Paul jumping over a car in front of my dorm building, and
Oh shit!
he was like, "Is this OU?" And I was like, "Yeah, that's my dorm building. What is this?" I didn't have Vine. I didn't even have a smartphone at the time. I still had a texty
Damn.
phone. Yeah, dude, I was a straight pilgrim, and and so one random night, one of our friends had a friend, and this dude's name was Isaiah. And Isaiah brought one of his friends, and we were just going to some party, and Isaiah's friend was Logan Paul. And so we're like walking up. What's the big street that's not Morton, but the other one? It's like even
uh,
it feels like it's steeper. It's got the stairs.
yeah, I know which one you're talking
Yeah,
about, but I yeah.
we were walking up that bitch, and we're just talking. I have no clue who this guy is because when he jumped over the car, I didn't really see his face, and I didn't have a smartphone, so I didn't know. And we're hanging out, and he seems all right, and we get to this party, and as we're walking up Mill Street, someone stops him, and they're like, "Hey, you're that guy." And I'm like, "What the fuck is going on?"
Yeah.
To Logan Paul, obviously not to me. And I had no clue. And we're at this party, and he like takes pictures with a couple of people, and I still had no idea. And afterwards, I was talking to one of my friends named Ashley. I was like, "What was all that about? Who's that Logan guy?" She was like, "That's Logan Paul from the Vines." And I'm like, "Oh, like the jump over the car guy." She's like, "Yes." She's like, "This was a very big night for me."
Yeah.
And I was like, I had no idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, to your point though, tangent aside, Vine, I feel like post YouTube was definitely one of the like saw the rise of influencers. Just like the
Yeah,
quick, was it 6 seconds?
yeah, it was 6 or 7, one of the
Yeah,
two.
yeah, that was a big one. And my buddy Sean and I were like, oh, dude, let's get Vine famous. And so the summer after our freshman year, we like made some Vine videos, and I still didn't have a smartphone, and so I didn't even have. I think we made it on like his phone, and we made like 3 videos and just like did fuck all with it.
He just, like recorded it on an iPad. We're like, we're gonna make it,
We're gonna
boys.
do it. This is it. We're done. Fuck this school shit. I'm gonna get Vine famous. I don't even have a
Yeah.
smartphone. Like,
That's hilarious. Yeah, yeah, Vine was huge because a lot of people were. I feel like that was a pretty big app, and with YouTube, it's like a longer format,
yes,
so I feel like it might be harder to build a fan base quicker there. But 7 second video, I mean, like you watch it, oh, that shit was funny, like, or
done, done,
subscribe, done,
done.
next.
Yeah, next.
Yeah, and that's like really what TikTok is too now. But
Yeah, I mean, we're all definitely stupider because of Vine, for sure.
yeah, yeah. But at some point, companies started stepping in and sponsoring videos. That's where a lot of these influencers started to make money because now they're celebrities now.
Right.
So there's just a lot of money in it as well now. But
Like crazy
before,
money.
yeah, people were just doing it for the love of the game before, dude.
Right,
Yeah,
right. Yeah, it's a little bit more of an innocent time.
yeah.
Um, when did TikTok even come out? I have no
Oh,
idea. I just got TikTok like 3 weeks ago, so I have no
oh,
clue.
damn, dude. TikTok is I was so against it at first. And my college girlfriend would send me stuff all the time and be like, "I'm not downloading this stupid app."
It was
You
back
know?
when we were in college.
Yeah. Well,
Oh.
it was before then actually. So it started as Musically,
Yes, I
the
knew
app.
that. I
Yeah,
knew
and
that.
then at some point they transitioned into TikTok. I forget the exact year, but it was while we were in college. They
Gotcha.
transitioned to TikTok,
I guess
and
my
then
wife did have one in 2019 because she would show me TikToks then. So
oh, really?
that's not too much after. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, at some point transition TikTok, and yeah, I mean it was still kind of the same app, except it's no longer like was dancing focused like on music. Now it's just kind of like Vine, where it's just kind of like open forum. Now people are just posting whatever. It's awesome.
Do you follow the comedian Tim Dillon?
Yeah, of course.
Okay, I love him. I listen
Yeah.
to his podcast. I think he's just so funny. But I remember listening to him once where he was like, he was talking about originally when TikTok came out, people were just watching people dance. And now all of a sudden, you're just watching people getting bombed. And all of a sudden, this new generation just has no clue what they're talking about because they're watching dance videos and now people are exploding. And what the hell is even going on?
Yeah, dude. It's insane how quickly that evolved, right?
Right.
Um, Yeah, people were just dancing for the love of the game. Now, no, now people get news for social media. I mean, I get my news from Twitter pretty much. Like it's
Yeah,
it's
I do
crazy.
Twitter, YouTube. I think Twitter and YouTube are probably my main news channels
Yeah,
for
right.
sure.
Yeah, I've become such a Twitter head lately. I just like I'm on it so much, scrolling when I wake up and then when I go to bed and stuff. It's
See, I feel like it's probably challenging because it's also your job to
yeah,
sort of be on those things.
yeah. I mean, because it's hard to Twitter isn't like a really good like video outlet.
This is true.
Uh, but I will say there are like it's so funny because social media just like there are so many videos that are stolen from other sites. Like on
Right.
Instagram Reels, you'll see TikTok videos that,
Yeah.
or on Twitter, you'll see TikTok and Instagram Reels, and you know what I mean. They all kind of
Yes.
go back and forth.
They just get scooped
But
all the time.
I feel like where there's a gold mine in Twitter is that there's a lot of premises on Twitter, like because they're just people tweeting out for the love of the game. There's a lot of like premises and like funny bits that aren't like videos, you know.
Mm.
So Twitter is, I feel like, kind of a gold mine where I've gotten like a few inspirations where I was like, why don't I take that idea, run with it, add my own thing to it, and change it up a little bit, uh, and make it my own. where,
Okay.
some
So I
funny
have a
bits.
question about that real quick. So
Yeah.
when I got a Twitter, I was a senior in high school. This would have been like, you know, fall of 2012, probably.
Yeah.
And Twitter at the time, to me, just seemed like an app where people were mostly just trying to like say funny shit.
Yeah.
Even even if it was just some random Joe Schmo, like typically there was like some sarcasm or there was like always a bit, I feel like, to the post. And I loved it. Like I feel like everyone was sort of trying to be funny, and even if it didn't always work out, nothing was too serious. And then I feel like probably like 2014, 2015, just like when everything in the world started getting more politicized, it became harder to tell the difference between, is this an actual opinion or is this a joke? Because people's opinions also got just like more ridiculous. So it was just kind of hard. I had a hard time telling the difference between joke and ridiculousness. And then I think I got rid of my Twitter sometime like in 2020. And then I just re-downloaded it probably 8 months ago, something like that. But I don't use it as much. Although now with Grok on there, it's awesome. But
Dude, Grok is so funny. That
Grok is great.
it's
But
so funny.
I guess the point of me explaining all this is like, how do you, with Twitter as it currently is, like determine what is funny and like find these things that make you want to like carry the bit, I guess.
Dude, you just gotta hope the algorithm's in your favor, to be honest. Like, there's so many like accounts I've had to mute or block, just like
Sure.
crazy shit. Like, because it's so easy to get trapped in something.
Yes.
Because the algorithm will typically show you things that you interact with the most. Like,
True.
so if it's something you hate, oftentimes like hate and love are such similar feelings where you'll really interact with things you love, but you also really interact with things you hate. So then the
Right.
algorithm will push more things that you hate towards you. So you gotta mute, you gotta like cancel out all the negative energy, dude. I just like no bad energy. Like if it's like some, fucked up thing happening in the world, although you want to be informed for sure,
Sure.
but just like I don't want to like any political thing, mute, block, whatever, move to the next. Any, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
No
Smart.
negative energy, and then the
Right.
good energy it'll come more willingly. So you'll find hopefully if you've curated a good algorithm,
Yes.
you'll
Well,
find some of that hidden
I've
gems.
mastered it. I've mastered it on YouTube. My YouTube algorithm is beautiful. It's just like it's like Marvel news updates. It's meditation stuff. It's like
Yeah,
it's all shit that I love. And so YouTube just like it's like this person's review of this thing and this person reviewing that review and it's just it's like super meta and I'm just like, yeah, this is the shit that I like. So
yeah.
YouTube's got me down, but it actually became a problem where I'm like, it just is giving me so much of what I want. I just need to like step away for a bit because I could spend all day on here.
I totally get that. Yeah, because that's something Christina and I do. Like, it's kind of a bad habit we've gotten into recently, but watching YouTube before bed. Um,
Oh, it's a trap.
I know. And the thing that sucks about it too is that she falls asleep, so it's on me to stay up to be the one to turn the TV off. So, we'll watch something that we both want to watch together, but then she goes to bed. It's like, all right, now let's watch something that we really want to watch. Throw that shit on. So, my sleeping schedule could be so much better, dude. I go to bed at like midnight, I would say, so it's not like terrible comparatively, but I would rather be going to bed at like 10 or 11. But yeah, it is a trap for sure. You got to be careful.
Yeah, I would definitely classify myself at one point as like a YouTube addict
Yeah.
because I would catch myself just on my phone because I had YouTube on my phone, and this was back when we were living in North Carolina. I would just be standing in my living room, no one's home, and I'm just like scrolling. I'm not even fucking watching the videos. I'm like, oh, that's a good one. That's a
Yeah.
good one. And then it's like 40 minutes, and I would like come to, and I'm just like, dude, you look like you probably like third person watching you. You probably just looked like a zombie standing in your living room doing nothing but like looking at this box. And I was doing it while I was peeing. I just all the time, and I'm like, I can't. I'm not responsible enough to have YouTube on my phone, and that to this day I don't. I just keep it on the TV, and it does make it a bitch to queue videos for
Yeah.
sure because I have to manually search them. But it's better this way. I found a way to enjoy YouTube and not become a crackhead.
Yeah, for sure. I don't know if you feel this way, but like It kind of sucks too because this is part of my job. I have to be online, but just like anytime you find yourself down a rabbit hole on any social media, I just feel groggy or I feel tired. Like it's something like it's hard to describe, but like you can physically feel it. You're just like, oh, like you just feel sluggish, you know? Definite,
10,000%.
yeah,
I'm pretty sure I'm pretty sure this is like a documented phenomenon consistent across people in general. Um, it's like it you know the phrase doom scrolling, right?
yeah,
It's the same thing. Doom scrolling on TikTok, Twitter, whatever it is. It gives you just like a sense of fog and just numbness afterwards.
yeah,
And I can't remember what the actual name of it is, but I don't know if you've heard of him. But there's this guy Andrew Huberman who has a podcast, and he has talked about. He's like got an episode about why doom scrolling fucks you up and what is that.
yeah.
He's a neuroscientist, and what is going on in your brain that makes you feel like shit when you spend too long on
Yeah.
social media.
Well, it's also funny too, though, because you will like while you're on social media, you'll come across those clips. Like people are telling social media is like bad for you. You're, like talk about doom scrolling. You're like,
Yes.
shut up, nerd.
Yeah.
Keep scrolling. Like every time like a motivational speaker comes across, I'm just like, whatever. You know what I mean? Just like keep scrolling.
Yeah, yeah. There was one. Oh, it got me so good. Um, it was just this was like I can't remember when, but I was scrolling on Reels, and all of a sudden there's just like this girl, and she was about to flash in the video. And I'm like, there's no way they're about to show just like some titties
Yeah.
on Instagram Reels, and then it cut away to David Goggins, and it was like, ha, fuck you, bitch.
Yeah.
Oh, I was so into it. I'm like, oh, they got me. Oh, this is great.
Dude, I'll always see like something like that on social media, and it'll just be like, "Why are you still here? Why didn't you scroll?" Because I was like, "I'm not here for the same reason the other people are here." It's like I just couldn't believe that what was about to go down was about to go
Right,
down.
right, right,
Yeah, I'm
right.
one of the good ones.
The good ones. I know, but then like the next time you open Instagram, it's just like a bunch of tits and ass on like the next
Right,
thing.
right.
It's like, oh my god, when I have to go watch like AI Spider-Man fighting AI Batman or something a bunch of times to get my algorithm back.
Dude, yeah. Have you seen any of the new AI videos that Google is creating? I think it's Google VO3. I think that's what it's called.
I think so. I follow Evolving AI on Instagram, so I don't know if they ever put their shit up on there. But I mean, I've seen some AI videos that like are completely photoreal, like look like real people, look like real environments, and I'm almost wondering if I only think it's AI because it's telling me it is. Like it might pass,
Yeah.
had it not told me. But no. So tell me about some of these videos.
No, they're just super hyper realistic. Like you can just feed prompts and they will not only create the video for you and make it look realistic. This is why we need a lookup guy, dude. We could be like, look
Right.
that shit up. But they do the voice, so they'll generate a voice. The voice sounds realistic. The picture, the video, like it's just crazy. So there's just so many like they just released it, I think this month, so it's kind of just like fresh to the market. But they're flooding social media now. Like you'll get stormtroopers, like a day in the life as stormtrooper, and they'll be like fighting on Hoth, but they're like building snowmen. You know, the big one that's going around is they're like Bigfoot vlogs.
I
So
just saw that for the first time yesterday.
that's Google Video, dude.
Dude, it
So
was hilarious.
yeah, so they're doing Bigfoot vlogs. It's crazy. I
Bro,
just like
he's like, I just ran out of my last Zin. I'm so fucked.
yeah, dude, they're so funny, dude. Yeah, dude, they're hilarious. Yeah, but like they're like they're good enough right now. Well, they have like some discrepancy where he's like you can tell that's AI. You know, you
Yeah,
can tell
yeah.
it's not Bigfoot, but it's getting to a level where it's so believable. Like we are so cooked, dude. We are
Oh,
so
for
screwed.
sure.
Like it's so funny because our grandparents are already cooked. Like there's a famous video on the internet where this guy's like showing like GTA crashes to his grandma, and the grandma's just like, oh my god, like just like anything video game,
Right.
where it's
Uh-huh.
like clearly you can tell it's a video game, but grandma
Sure.
it was so fooled. We're just like with AI, that's like us with AI now, dude. Like they're gonna sometimes I'll watch a video and not even realize it's AI at
Yeah.
first, where they're like so convincing. Um, yeah, we're cooked, dude.
Yeah, dude. I saw one and it was like some people were it was generating a little bit of controversy because it was that day in the life vlogger, but of biblical figures.
Oh
And
shit.
but they're using like Gen Z, Gen Alpha slang. And so it's like David and Goliath, and it's like David's filming himself, and there's this like big giant dude behind him, and he's like, I am totally about to yeet this rock at this bro over here. And just like then there's like one of Jesus, and he's like sitting in his tomb, and he's like, 2 days in, got one more day before Pops is gonna respawn me. And just like off
Yeah.
the chain. And people were like, and I was looking at the comments, and people were like, this is good. It's bringing like the gospels to a new generation. And some people were like, this is blasphemy. Like, I do not know if I
Yeah.
like this. And it's whatever opinion they have on it. But
Yeah, it definitely caused discourse for sure. Yeah, I mean, like
well
anything
said.
religious, political, you know what I mean? Like
Uh-huh.
it is talk about an industry disruptor, dude. That is a fucking disruptor. It's
Yes,
crazy.
for
Um,
sure. Well, I
the,
do I do think that's one of the positive things though about like the last, you know, 10 years, we'll say, is if you want to detach from that stuff, you can find your online people that you want to watch, and you can watch them. And if they like go down a hole that you don't like, then you know you can just stop watching them. Now then that brings up the issue of just like people creating their own echo chambers, which is totally true. I mean that happens. Everyone creates their own echo chamber with the algorithm, but what are you gonna do?
yeah.
That's just where we are.
No,
Um,
dude, that's why I say you gotta mute and block the bad energy, dude. Just like
yes,
try to just consume, because it sucks too when you like watch a video like that's just like I, I want to say disgusting, but you know what I mean, like
yeah.
physically like disgusting, like somebody dies in the video, dude. Twitter be showing you crazy shit, like
Oh yeah,
people's
you can just see
appendages.
murders and
Yeah,
crashes. You can see whatever.
dude, you gotta block all. It's just like it's so mentally wearing. You're like, god damn, dude, I don't want that energy in my life. So you just gotta curate the algorithm, just be positive energy coming towards you,
Right.
you
It's like
know.
10 a.m. I'm not trying to see a decapitation.
Yeah, dude, insane. Yeah, there is so many like, and I'd never even like interact with those videos, but Twitter's like, this is a guy who would love police shooting videos. You're like, Jesus Christ, dude. You're like, oh my god.
But see, I'm just so curious. So anytime, like on Instagram, it's like, and it says like, "This is disturbing content. Do you want to see it?" I'm like, absolutely. Like, why? Why?
Yeah,
If you didn't put that wall in front of me, I probably would have just scrolled right on by. But because you're like telling me it's restricted, I'm like, what do you think that I cannot look at? Excuse you. Excuse you.
yeah.
Why are you censoring? And then I watch it. I'm like, oh, they're censoring it because that dude just got his leg blown off. Uh,
And
and
dude,
there's 10-year-olds on this app.
yeah, I know, but the 10-year-olds are so desensitized. Like I feel like we're probably a little desensitized now, but definitely like I see it in my baby sister and younger brother, because the comment sections are always just, like so ruthless.
For
Like
sure.
they don't, like, guy gets his leg blown off, like nobody gives a fuck. They're just like, I wonder if he's going to get a discount now at the pants store. They say something
Right,
like
right.
crazy.
Right.
Yeah.
That's so funny. I know. I feel like I remember being a freshman in high school, and like when some of the freshman girls that I knew like started talking to seniors and stuff, and I was just
Yeah.
like, oh god, like I didn't know this could happen. This is so crazy. Like this makes me feel weird. Like these girls that I knew are now talking with like older dudes. What's going on? I wonder if the younger generation even experiences that, and they're like, no, like I've seen like 30 ISIS videos this morning. Like I'm good. I'm not worried about the senior and the freshman anymore.
Yeah. No, I think there will always be some commonalities, like some shared experiences between the
Sure.
generations, right? Like, especially anything like romantical. But now it's like different, because now it's just like it's so online, where it's just like instead of that like being in person, it'll be like digital. So it'll just be like two guys DMing at the same time, and you'll just get
Right.
ghosted.
Right. Right. Well, I feel like there's also like a movement going on right now where like whether it's like comedians or just like your favorite podcasters or whatever are doing like in-person shows because people are craving that sort of authentic experience. And just like, you and I were talking about, I think, were we talking about Tinder beforehand?
Yeah.
Okay. Like when we were talking about that stuff, like meeting people in person is just so much better.
Yeah,
Um,
for sure.
and even as, people who kind of grew up, or not, maybe not grew up, but were impacted by the rise of the digital age, like that in-person connection is just so much better. Like I'm sure when you're going out in Charlotte and you're gonna hang out with some homies and you get to put the phone away and just meet up and hang out, you're relieved to leave that stuff behind. You're like, oh, I can unplug and just hang out with the bros or whoever. I mean, what do you think?
No, I totally agree. I actually feel like we were probably born at the perfect time because
I
we're
agree.
born at a time that we weren't like given technology right away. Where
Yes.
like my younger siblings were given like an iPad fairly early on, but we
Sure.
had, I mean, sure, we had like flip phones, but I would say our technology wasn't online. Like we weren't on the internet like that yet. Um,
Totally. Totally. And like,
so
go on.
no, I was just gonna say it's cool because I mean we are close enough to it where we understand it, know how to use it. We're not like completely useless, but certainly also know how to live without it as well.
Totally. Well, I remember like dial up, like to use the computer. No one was allowed to use the phone. My dad would have to like dial up, be like, and then like now he's on the internet,
Yeah, it's
and it's like
crazy.
no one make a phone call. And my parents were late to the cable game. Where it's like, yeah, as a kid, you're like, well, we don't have cable, everyone else does, and as an adult, you're like, who gives a fuck about what
Yeah,
I have versus what other people don't have? Um, but like we were late to that, and then smartphones, like the Storm, I think was one of the first smartphones, wasn't until 2007, and by then I was 12 and you were 10,
yeah.
so we did. I didn't have a smartphone. Like I said, I didn't have a smartphone until I think I was 19. I think I got one in my sophomore year of college,
Oh wow.
which was late. That was like by then people
Oh
had
yeah, dude, that's so
had
late.
smartphones. um, but I feel like now that wasn't the case. But even when I had Instagram and people had stories, I would never watch them. I'm like, who the fuck is watching this shit? Like, who cares about what you're? It was like Snapchat. I didn't really Snapchat too much. I'm
Yeah.
like, this is dumb. I don't care what you're doing throughout the day. And now I'll just like pull out my phone and absentmindedly start watching Instagram stories. I'm like, what am I doing? Like,
Yeah, you can get
ew.
out down a rabbit hole on that. Yeah, Instagram stories are hilarious. Or any story as well too. I used to be so big on like my personal social media. Like I would just post shit just that I thought was funny and
Your
stuff like that.
stories were hilarious, dude. Because
Oh, thank
I've
you.
followed you since, and they're always a welcome. Because there's always a bit. Like it was never serious.
Yeah.
So that was what was nice.
Right, and that's how I feel like everybody should approach like not everything in life, but some things that are not meant to be serious, like social media, because like people are always like, the world needs to see this, or they need to know that I'm here at this event, or they need to know like I'm drinking the coffee shop from the most like prestigious coffee shop. Where I was like so caught up at that in that with that at one point too in my life, where it's just like kind of like it's kind of like flexing a little bit, you know what I mean?
Totally.
Like the world needs it's like a slightly narcissistic where it's just like my 200 followers, they need to know that I was in Paris today, or you know what I mean?
For
uh,
sure.
and then at some point I kind of flipped the switch and it just made everything like, nah, this is all stupid.
Yeah.
Like
Well,
who
dude, I agree.
cares?
I remember when you were posting about your travels a lot. I do remember that. I didn't think anything of it at the time, though. I was like, oh, dude, Peyton's in Paris. You've been to Paris a lot, right?
Yeah, well, a decent amount, but it's only because my family. It's not like I've paid the way. Just my family has gone there
That's
a
awesome.
decent amount of time. I've hitched a ride, so
Sure.
not
Hey,
anything
nothing
too
wrong with that.
crazy.
Nothing
But
wrong with that.
yeah, I mean, I feel like there was, but I also feel like a lot of that comes from like, this is again therapy. Help me, A lot of thing comes from like needing validation or something that you're missing in your life that you're hoping the internet will fill for you, which it never
Mm,
will, you know? So like some of those people I'm sure that are on the Instagram stories that you're watching and they're posting, it's really that they want someone specific to see it, or they
right.
want people to validate them, be like, this is so cool, or you know what I mean?
Bro,
Yeah.
on I have a question for you, but on validation real quick. I just remember I have seen it so many times. I don't see it as much now, thank God. But even I remember seeing some of my friends where they would post something like XYZ specific thing, you are seen and validated, but they describe something that I fucking know is just directly about them because I know them and like
Yeah.
that's something that they're going through or something that they're struggling with. And it's like, I get it. I get it. But that was 100% about you at the same time. Like,
Yeah.
let's not pretend maybe you could say you were like advocating for something, but it's like, I know 10,000% you were just posting about yourself right there. So,
No, we're all doing it.
for
And dude,
sure. For sure.
dude, there's nothing worse. Like I used to be the king of this, and this is so embarrassing, but like any like small like hardship, like especially with like if there was a breakup that I went through or something like that, just like going to Instagram story and like posting like a sad song, or something like that. Like like dude, that's like so dude, that had to be a really hard watch for some people, just be like, oh, you know what I
So,
mean? Like,
yeah,
yeah.
cringe, cringe.
Yeah, for sure.
Payton's in the
I
field.
you always see it now too. Just like people still do this. Just like a black screen with just like text. Just be like, nobody talked to me today. Nobody text me. Only the real ones know. Or you know what I mean? Like stuff like that. He's like, I don't know if social media is meant to be used
Yeah,
like that. You
yeah.
know?
Honestly, shut the fuck up. Like, I see people like I don't give a shit about that.
Yeah.
And like I'll be 30 in July. And so sometimes when I see, well, now I just unfollow. To your point, I'm like, I don't. What the fuck? Like, get over
Yeah.
yourself. But I would see people post like stories where they're just like being petty and they're like blah 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 blah. I'm like, bro, you're my age.
Yeah.
Stop. Relax. Relax. Whatever it is, just deal with it and move on. It's like not that serious. Not to say that there isn't serious shit happening in people's lives, but first of all, social media is not the place to deal with it. So whatever like petty thing you're dealing with, I'm sorry, but I'm now laughing at your expense
Yeah. No,
for
for
your
sure.
pettiness.
Like guys famously do it too, but it's just like guys do anything but go to therapy. Just like a lot of these people should just probably go to therapy or
Yes,
find a different outlet than to,
yes,
because it's a little bit of a dumpster fire at some point where it's just
yes,
like it's hard to look away. I never unfollow these people because I get a little bit of enjoyment out of it, but
yes, for sure.
I I hope that a lot of these people find inner peace or they find a different outlet because posting on your Snapchat story ain't it.
Totally, totally. So the question I wanted to ask you on therapy, and you don't have to answer it, or whatever. But what sort of I don't know about like questions, but like I've heard about other people having a similar experience to you, and so I haven't been to therapy. I know people that have, but I've dealt with everyone's got shit, and I dealt with my shit. In a handful of ways, and you never stop having shit, so you continuously deal with it, and eventually you kind of find a process where you're able to like recognize if something's happening and hopefully deal with it in real time or as close to it as possible. But what sort of questions, or like I guess how is therapy initially revelatory to you, and you can be as in depth or not as in depth as you want to,
Yeah,
totally up
totally.
to you.
Uh, yeah, totally. Jarvis, cut that. Jarvis, cut that. Uh, no, so I obviously I started going to therapy because of the my dog passed away 2 years
Okay.
ago in a freak accident. He was killed, and I had to just like deal with that pain. Christina was there too, so we were both like really going to therapy together, and she was already
Okay.
going to therapy prior. So just going there and just like trying to grieve, going through the grieving process and stuff like that. So that was kind of like the initial, my first part of therapy.
Sure, that's what got you in the door.
Right. And then after that, just like, once, I mean, the grieving still happens for, quite some time after that. But, you start to uncover some other things. The therapist, I don't necessarily come in with any questions. The therapist will ask, like, certain questions or, ask me to build upon certain topics. And that's kind of, how they uncover you like an onion layer by layer.
Hmm.
So, I was. just talking about different grievances with my life at one point. And at one point, I was talking about this story that still pisses me off to this day of just like how people in my frat just bullied the fuck out of me, but
In your frat?
specifically, yeah, dude,
Uh,
yeah, they're savages. They at one point, like how the story goes is I had this gray North Face vest that I would wear all the time because it was super frat to like wear a vest, but it was the only vest I had, so I wore it to every function. I wore it every day. Like I got my money's worth out of this vest.
sure.
And
It was like
so
the Payton character.
yeah, a gray North Face vest. So I was
Uh,
wearing this bitch all the time, and um, my people would just like kind of poke fun of me for it at first. Like it was just kind of like light and fun, just like maybe you got to switch up your wardrobe, which they probably weren't wrong, but
sure.
it started innocent, and then it just kind of slowly just like, come on, bro, switch it out, whatever, whatever. Eventually, some of the cooler guys in the frat ended up getting into my room and stealing it, and then they recorded a bunch of videos of them lighting it on fire and like
God
doing
damn.
all, yeah, I know, they assholes, and like recording it, and I saw it on someone's Snapchat story. It's like, damn, there's my vest being lit on fire, and they would just
Shit.
like roasted me at the bars, be like, yeah, dude, you fucking don't have to wear that vest anymore. So I was telling this story to my therapist, just kind of like as like I don't even know how it even came up in conversation.
Mhm.
She's like, holy shit. She's like, do you want to care to expand more upon that? And that's when I had, through other stories, I was like, damn, I had really repressed like some of these feelings of just like, uh, this is what I talked about earlier on the podcast, just like the feeling of judgment just came from like this stemming of bullying that happened in middle school, high school, and college.
Mhm.
Just all this fear of standing out. Like we were talking before the podcast, that artistic Instagram that
Yeah.
I had for like because I was super interested in that stuff and like creating my own art.
Yeah.
Granted, it was slightly narcissistic in the way of the art that I was creating were like photos of me, which is I you know that is
Yeah. I
kind of a
remember.
little bit lame, but I
Well,
got
what, you
bullied
were
for that.
20? You're like 20, 19, 20. You
Yeah.
know? Like, we cut you some slack. I mean, come on.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, that kind of goes back to like the social media, like you need to like the validation, right? So, anyways,
Yeah.
with that
Gotcha.
artistic Instagram that I had, like I got made fun of for it all the time. People were telling me how
Mm.
lame and stupid it was, and eventually I just deleted it. I was like, damn, they're fucking right. It is lame and stupid. But it
Mm.
was I should have stuck with it, or not necessarily in that capacity, but like I wanted a emotional or an outlet for my creativity, and I was so fearful of being criticized for it that I just didn't do it for the longest time. And therapy helped uncover that, dude. So I recommend everybody try to go to therapy, or try to work out these feelings in one way or another.
Yeah, definitely. That's super cool. So, when you were like having these conversations, were you like having revelations as you're saying stuff where you're like, holy smokes,
Yeah.
that's what this is? Like,
Yeah, and I would say I'm somebody who's like pretty in tune to like my emotions and like my feelings, and like especially like lived experiences as well.
Mhm.
So for to have like such like a come to like Jesus moment of like, oh my God, like I had no idea these were like things I was like not dealing with.
Yeah. Yeah, I get that. I recorded a pod. What is it? On Saturday, Friday, this past Friday, and it hasn't come out yet, with my buddy Alex, and I kind of alluded to, and this goes back to way elementary school, where I figured out how to climb the elementary school social ladder, which is hilarious, like to say, as a thing to say out loud.
Yeah.
Um, and then kind of got like jaded with that sort of process leading up to high school, and then come cross country. I was like, I don't care anymore. But I think I actually did care a little bit, because by the time I got to college, I consider my college experience as, and this is something I thought about post college. I consider my college experience was like me living out my 10-year-old fantasy. and it was awesome, and I have no regrets, and I totally loved it. But it's just interesting when you think about certain events. I had in between my 4th year and 5th year, because I did 5 years at OU. I was on a 3-week backpacking trip where half of it we were backpacking through the woods, and then the other half we were kayaking in the Outer Banks, and it was a rad trip. And on one of the days, we had what is called a solo day, where they just give you a tarp, and then that's it, and they leave you. We were alone for 22 hours, just by yourself, and so you make your little shelter for the night. You have your sleeping bag and your food and stuff like that. So it's not like we're not raw dogging it, but
Yeah, all right.
but it's reasonably intense, especially if you've never done something like that before, and you just have nothing but time, and you're by yourself in nature. And my college career was kind of going nowhere. I started as one major that I chose haphazardly because I didn't know what I wanted to do, and then I switched to undecided. And then I was going to be a PE teacher, but the thought of being a PE teacher for the rest of my life terrified me. So then I switched out of that, and I ended up graduating with a degree in outdoor rec and education, which ended up being super formative from like a leadership perspective, but maybe not necessarily in a I'm using my major sort of way. But regardless, I was having some time to myself, and sort of had a come to Jesus moment where you're just like, dang, all the worst parts of my life are my fault. Whether it's me avoiding this or me avoiding that or not doing what I'm supposed to because of XYZ or and it's just such a relief because
Yeah.
I can fix me. It's the outside world I can't control, but if stuff is my fault, I can get better. I can not do those things. And I also realized that I was completely codependent upon my friends because we had this like ride or die friend group, and I associated myself with them and nothing else, nothing professional. It was just like, I am this role in my friend group, and that is it. And then it was, I'm the summer before my 5th year, and I've got a 20 credit hour semester coming up on the other side because I'm behind on credits. And I'm just like, okay, it's time to become a little bit different. It's shift gears and grow. And there's been multiple times throughout since that point where I'm like, oh, this is what this is. Oh, that's what that is. And because at one point I was like, everything about me in college I'm trying to kill. It's not worth keeping. It all needs to burn. And then I was like, no, actually, you actually did a lot of good things in college. And so like you need to merge the best versions of your new self, the best versions of your, grade school self, and the best version of your college self. Come to terms with everything, and then, kind of move forward. And so whenever I think about your story or other friends who I know who have had positive experiences, sometimes I wonder, I'm like, well, should I go just to see if there's any stuff that still needs to be unearthed, or not? And I don't know. I'm still not. I'm not. I'm open to the idea, but I just don't know. And I'll have to
Yeah,
answer
that's
that
fair.
question eventually.
Yeah,
But
that's fair. I mean, I certainly I would recommend it because I mean obviously I went for a super tragic reason, but then
yeah, for sure.
I still continue to go now. There's it's just good like emotional outlet, just like working out is. Like I feel like you
Hmm.
just need a way to be able to regulate your emotions because obviously everybody's going to face their own hardships and struggles in different ways, and when you were saying like, oh, you felt like a lot of the things that contributed to like some of the negatives in your life were your fault, which is I feel like it is. I can relate in the sense of like I definitely feel like I've made my life harder just by being my own worst enemy. I totally get it, but there it's also just like great to find. It'll help people find like self acceptance a lot too.
Mm.
Um, and I something I think Or, for other people, if they need to like shed their ego and they're not willing to try psychedelics, maybe therapy is your route.
Sure, sure. Yeah, yeah. I've definitely had my ego stomped a few times,
Yeah, for sure.
uh, but well, I think to your point, what you were kind of what you were, I think, alluding to. Sometimes some of the stuff that has happened to you actually was tough, and I'm Mr. Go with the flow. And I do brush stuff off, but I can also handle the stuff pretty well. But I think I have in the past brushed things off and been like, that's no big deal, and not actually acknowledge like, no, dude, that actually did kind of mess you up a little bit. That actually was a big deal. And I think calling that out can actually be useful. It's like, oh no, that did impact me. Give the devil its due. And then if something similar happens going forward, acknowledge it. Oh man, I'm actually in a bad spot right now.
Yeah,
Not,
totally.
and one of the gripes I have is when people say like it's okay not to be okay, because I'm like, definitionally that is a nonsense phrase, because if you're not okay, then it's not okay. That
Right.
being said, you can be not okay and still exist, obviously. um, uh, and I think you should work towards getting there. But if you're not okay, I think it's okay to acknowledge that, and
Yeah,
because
certainly.
I feel like if someone's like, "Oh, I'm not okay," and someone's like, "Oh, well, that's okay," well, they're kind of like, "What the fuck do you mean? I've just told you I'm not okay. You're telling me that's okay." It's like I think it should be, if you're not okay, it's okay to accept that, but you still want to be working towards getting better and becoming okay. Does that make
Yeah,
sense?
definitely. No, yeah, definitely. And not that I can like fully speak on your case, but it sounds like if you're talking about meditation videos or in your YouTube algorithm, like meditating is such a great way to like regulate emotions as well. You know what I mean? Like,
I love it.
yeah, you
Yeah,
meditate fairly often.
not as much as I used to. My Did you ever meet Sean Forker?
Maybe. Who knows?
Maybe. He's
Names
a,
mean nothing, dude. I need to see faces.
gotcha. He's a really good buddy of mine. We were roommates after college, and anyways, he's a dog for sure. But he got me this book in the summer of 2019 called Becoming Supernatural, by
Okay.
Dr. Joe Dispenza. And the book, I feel like, was meant for me in the sense that I am I'm very much a power of belief person anyways. Like, if I believe I can achieve the obstacle or overcome the obstacle, I will, regardless of whatever's happening. And this book was really about just like, I know you hear the term rewiring your brain, but through meditation and breath work, reconditioning yourself to, because a lot of times, like when you're experiencing emotion, it's emotion associated with the past. So, if you're feeling grief, and grief persists, and that's also natural. So, like, if something happens, like what happened to you, or you lose a family
Yeah.
member or
Yeah.
whatever, grief is definitely okay. But it's when it's a year later, 2 years later, whatever, and you're still like in this loop of being sad from said event, your body starts to like crave the high it gets, and you almost become addicted to your own emotion, because you get a spike in heart rate, and
Wow.
all these other chemical reactions that happen in your body. And it basically walks you through different meditations to decondition yourself and be open to the possibilities of the future, and, along
Wow.
with a handful of other things. And so it's an incredible book, and I read it, and for close to a year, 5 to 7 days a week, I would go and I would lay in my closet with the lights totally off for an hour,
Damn.
and just
An
like
hour is crazy.
a full hour.
Damn.
And I would challenge myself. So some days I would do like a heart synchronization meditation, where you synchronize your breathing with your heart rate. You can do like, it depends how woo woo you want to go, but you can do like blessings of the energy centers. You can do just, sometimes I would just breathe. And if my thoughts would trail away, just focus back on the breath work. Some days I would just let my mind go anywhere. And that was really helpful because sometimes I would remember something and I would cringe and I'd have like a emotional body reaction.
Mm,
And I would be like, yo, what was that? Why did that memory just make you go like,
yeah.
ugh? And then I would kind of break it down and like, okay, what was this? Why did you feel that way during that time? Oh, okay. Are you that way now? Like, are you sorry for this? And I got really good at just like having inner dialogue with myself. And so but I've started to get back into it a little bit, especially with breath work. So I focus on breathing when I'm reading, if I'm at work, if I'm driving, whatever, and it just kind of helps keep you cool, because especially like when you're driving, you're kind of already geeked up because people are going 70 miles an hour and
Yeah,
all
right.
that sort of thing. So but yeah, I've started bringing breath work back in my life, I'd say within the past like month or so.
Nice.
And so that's been good. But yeah, Becoming Supernatural, great book. Meditation, love
I
it.
have to have Christina check it out. I can never get into self-help books, but Christina is super woo-woo. She's borderline witch. She we
There's my
do so
sister-in-law.
much like woo-woo stuff together. Have you ever heard of moon water before?
Is that water that you've put out in the moonlight?
Yes, but only on a full moon because that's when it's like supercharged. But
Yes. Yes.
even though I'm not personally woo woo, I do believe in like rewiring yourself, and I do believe there is a science to it because
Yes.
when we create moon water once a month, what we write down is our goals, our aspirations, or we write down like what we're working for, and I do believe there is like a power to belief there. Uh,
Yes, there is power in intention for sure.
yeah, I don't believe the moon is like supercharging our water to
No.
make it happen, but you know what I
No.
mean? Like reaffirming, like having goals and like having direction, I think is like really, really key. So,
Well, and there's also like, even though like the moon water itself might be bullshit, there's still a ritual around it where it's like,
yeah.
okay, once a month we're coming together, we're being honest about our intentions, and like we're putting those in the forefront of our focus, and then that program is maybe sort of running in the background. And to your point about the science, the Becoming Supernatural book, they actually do brain scans, and
Oh,
a
wow.
handful of other different readings. I can't remember the name of one. um, but basically, humans have electrical currents running through their body. This is known. And you have an electromagnetic field around your body, similar to planet Earth has, its poles, and there's a magnetic field around Earth, sort of similar. And it's measurable. And you can influence your magnetic field with your breath work, with clearing your mind, and which type of brain waves you put out. There's
Oh,
different brain
wow.
waves: beta, alpha, um, theta, delta, gamma, and they're just like different frequencies of brain waves that are associated with different states of the mind. And this is all trackable. And so that for me, what was great about the Becoming Supernatural book is because it was the spiritual meets science. And that's and then maybe some of the woo woo stuff, or some of the stuff that hasn't been totally verified yet, is a little bit easier to swallow, that's in the book, because I know, X amount is legit, it's measurable, and it can have a profound effect. And so, that's sort of my
Yeah.
spiel on all that.
No, I totally, I agree with it 100%. Before we continue, real quick, can we take a break? I'm about to pee my pants.
Dude, thank you. I'm right
Yeah,
there
you
with
too.
you.
All right.
Yeah, let's do it.
I'll be back.
You feeling refreshed?
What's that?
Feeling refreshed?
Oh yeah, dude. I was struggling there. Well, the problem is the pants that I'm wearing are like slightly too big because that's like the style now. Like everything's like
Oh,
overlarged.
oh.
But I put my belt on just like super tight, so it was like squeezing
Ah,
me, dude. It was right on my
gotcha.
bladder.
Yeah,
Uh,
a tight belt mixed with the caffeine. That's a combo for urination.
yeah, dude. I was building up, dude. But all good. No, I appreciate the small break. Yeah.
Yeah, dude, got to do it sometime. We were talking about meditation. I do want to
yeah.
bring it back at some point to what you're doing, and we'll do that. One of the things I wanted to say, though, real quick, just since we've been on this like therapy meditation sort of kick here. You and I, we've known each other I don't know, sometime in middle school, I'm sure.
Yeah.
You were probably sixth grade. I was probably eighth grade. And we were on the same team in cross country, which was awesome. Shout out to the UAXC boys. And then we also went to the same college, although I didn't hang out with you
Yeah.
guys much in college. We were kind of doing our own thing, which is totally cool. But you had mentioned about, just like getting roasted by the frat bros and just
Yeah.
throughout. And being 2 years older than you and being on the same cross country team as you, I know for a fact, I'm sure of it, that I roasted the shit out of you. And so I just want to apologize if
No,
any
no,
of
no, no.
that if
Well,
any of that was coming from me. Obviously it was all in love and we were friends and stuff, but you know, all love, man.
dude, I had at least 7 sessions dedicated to you alone, just working out all that shit. No, I think for me it was like really discerning like what is coming from a place of love and what's actually coming from a place of hate. Like obviously, yeah, you busted my chops, but that
For
was a
sure.
that was a place of love. Like
Yeah,
I love to get roasted still. I love to roast people. Like that is a good thing. Don't get me
it
wrong.
is. It
I
is.
I think it's like discerning when it's just like, oh no, this person doesn't love me. This is actually coming from like a place of hate, and that I would get
Right.
that from like maybe bullies or like just people in the frat were just like
Sure.
they didn't give a fuck about me. They just wanted to like put me down to feel lifted, and you were
Sure.
never putting me down to feel lifted. You were just like, dude, your shirt looks fucking stupid. Be like, oh, come on. You know what I mean? Like you're just busting my chops, which I
Sure.
think is I love that. I still get my chops busted, and that's okay. Like
Totally.
pause. But Jarvis, cut that. But I I still get my chops busted. But that it's coming from a place of love, like people that love me. Like it, I think roasting is good. It's just
It is. It is, dude. My wife is pretty good. I spend most of my time with her, obviously. And she said something the other day. I can't remember what it was. It was last week. And it was the highlight of my week, actually, because what she said was so on point as far as a roast goes that I immediately stopped what I was doing and just like burst out laughing. And I wish I could remember what she says. But I think it's important to not like take yourself too seriously also, because everyone's flawed, and at the end of the day, like sometimes you do stuff and you got to get called out for it, and it's all good. It's all love.
oh, dude, you're totally breaking up. I didn't catch any of that. Your screen's frozen
No,
on my
no.
end. Yeah,
Oh
I
shit.
can hear you, but it's coming through like super robotic. It's hilarious. No, now it's just me. Guess it's my podcast now. What's up, everybody? Welcome back. Uh, Jarvis, pull up my high school cross country and track highlights, please. And Jarvis, make sure to highlight my PR for any potential available listeners. Uh, thank you. Jarvis, please enhance. So, what are we? I'm just going to start trying out all my bits and premises. Welcome back.
Oh,
What
wow. What the
happened?
fuck was that? I don't know. Who was that? My internet, or was that your internet?
Who knows?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not super stressed about it, but that was wild. I
Yeah.
have.
So, what were you saying? I didn't even get to hear any of it.
I was just saying. Last week, my wife roasted the shit out of me, and I can't remember what it was that I said, but it was the highlight of my week because someone. I only know this because someone at work asked me, "What was the highlight of your week?" And I was like, dude, my wife got a good one on me, and it made me stop what I was doing, and I was just shaking
Yeah.
with laughter. And so I think it's good if you can laugh at yourself, because life's not that serious. And
No,
you're
agreed.
not a perfect human either. So
No, nobody is,
right,
So, no, I think the ability to laugh at yourself is definitely really important for sure. It's about shedding the ego we mentioned earlier. Just like
yes,
I think people that are really able to laugh at themselves, like take like jokes like that in stride, or like the people I love to surround myself with, the people that I love to have in my lives, because people those are people that have shed their ego. People are not taking life too seriously. Those are good people for sure.
No doubt. I couldn't agree with you more.
Yeah.
Bringing it back to, the shit that you've been working on, and sort of in line with what we were talking about with regards to, setting intentions. What what sort of clientele are you guys hoping to get, as quit your day job and make this your full-time thing? I know
Yeah,
you said
certainly.
there's like a demographic that trends towards women right now. You're trying to keep that. What's the scoop?
Yeah, I don't think it necessarily has to be. It just happens to be more women right now because
Sure.
my fiance's does a lot of the clientele facing stuff because that's what she's really good at, and I'm really good at the behind the scenes. Not that, I mean, I used to be a sales rep. I do like to be more client facing, but um, you know we'll explore that in the future regardless. That just happens to be where our clientele is now. I think for us, like, an ideal client is somebody with like a creative direction, somebody who has like is established, like I said, in their industry, or somebody who's doing something that they think is worth putting out there, and just kind of taking that and rolling with it. I would love to see if we could get anybody like more comedic
Mm,
clients. That would be sweet. Um, but lifestyle vlog, any of that type of stuff is stuff that we specialize in for sure.
okay.
So uh, to be honest, I feel like we're still kind of shaping of what like the ideal person really looks like. I know I've pitched ideas to Christina. She's pitched ideas as well. I think we kind of have it down, but I also just think like good opportunities will present themselves too.
Right.
Um, so, just kind of being in the industry, like Christina with her other businesses and stuff, travels to a lot of these conferences and meets women that are doing like really cool things. And they want to put themselves online. They just don't know how to market themselves. That's like where we really come in handy, and can help them out.
Nice. Okay. Very cool. So, kind of have an idea of the
Yeah.
ideal client, a little bit on the vlog side of things. That's
Yeah.
pretty sick.
It's
Would
like business coaches, that are like looking to recruit more people, but they're cool, they're great business coaches, but they don't know how to work TikTok. That's like our bread and butter.
Okay. Very nice. Very nice. Well, I'm sure you guys will definitely get there. Um, how many like do you guys have an idea of like how many clients you can even take on as far as
I
workload
think
goes?
the idea is just continuous growth. To be honest, like, get to a point where we can't take anymore, and then see if we can hire other people to outsource work to, and then take
Sure.
even more from there.
Right. Well, and then you
Honestly,
can also be more choosy.
true. But I would, as long as the quality that we're putting out is good, as long as people are getting what they want out of it, whether that's conversions, whether that's like more influence on through their social media, so on and so forth. I think uh, continuous growth is a good thing for sure.
Good.
But the ideal picture for me is to continuously build this studio, and then hire some people underneath that can edit and do stuff from there, and then continue to kind of grow. Yeah,
Let's go, baby.
it would be ideal if I can kind of just step away and then just do my own personal brand and stuff, and grow that as well, rather than uh, be editing videos the whole, full time.
Heard, dude. I, they're editing videos is cool. It's just so time consuming.
Yeah, it can be for sure.
Yeah, yeah, very true. So yeah, so that actually leads right into what I wanted to ask you next. Is so would either of you two want to be more camera facing and do sort of more of that sort of stuff? Is that what you're thinking of with your own brand? Like, what are you thinking
Yeah, for
about
sure.
for Mr.
I mean,
Payton?
we'll start our social media pages here in a second for our brand, so that will have both of us being camera facing. Like, we'll do a lot of different a lot of different videos. Like, most of them kind of, some of them are pitches, some of them are like video editing segments where it's just like, here's a great video, here's how it could be better, or here's a video that I did, let me re-edit it and show you, like, here's some design choices, here are things that you could incorporate into your work. It's kind of like planting yourself as an industry expert, but also like offering advice and like freebies, like snippets of here's what we
Right.
provide, but if you want to, like, here's something that you could incorporate into your next video. so we'll talk about a lot of like complex ideas like pacing in a video, just like movement, and so on and so forth.
Nice.
Yeah.
Hmm. What okay, so and is that going to be what you both are doing, or is that going to be exclusively what you're doing, or
Yeah, I
what?
mean, we'll create a social media page for this company, which is where
That makes
we're
sense.
both posting on.
Hmm.
We'll both have our own personal brands as well, because she has a couple pretty big ones. Like she's growing her own company too on the side. She has been for a while, which is Hot Diabetic Club is what it's called. So it's really cool. It's like for people with type 1, type 2 diabetes that are looking to connect and looking for a community of other people that are diabetics. They go on a lot of trips together. This has been established for like 2 years now. They have a huge online forum and like community you can join virtually where they have like weekly calls and do a lot of, there's like a lot of value propositions. It's really cool too, like to see, there's so many things I've learned about like being a diabetic and living with diabetes through Christina,
I'm
just like that, and
sure.
not realize like just big pharma in general fucking sucks. But just like
Totally.
learning about stuff like that, like and people in this community, like they might have extra supplies, and maybe somebody's insurance didn't approve that enough supplies for them this month, and
Sure.
normally they'd be shit out of luck. But instead, it's like, here, let me help you out. You can have some of my stuff to get by until insurance improves
Oh, wow.
more
That's
stuff.
super
Yeah,
positive.
yeah, it's a very positive community, but it's also like people looking for friendships and shared life experiences. So we're going on this huge trip to Mexico with like 20 plus other people, where
Whoa.
we have this whole villa just for us, because it's for specifically like group events and stuff like that. So we have our own private villa housing like bartenders and food and staff and stuff like that, where all these people will come, get together, meet, make friends. Hopefully there'll be learning seminars, yoga classes, just, stuff that people like to do, and also be on vacation in Mexico,
Hell
so it'll be a good
yeah.
time.
Yeah, and that will all be folks like couples where at least one of the couple or maybe both have some sort of diabetes.
Yeah, yeah. It's I think it's all singles. She's done this a couple times where it's just been girls only, but this
Okay.
one's
Oh,
going to
sure, sure.
be co-ed. And yeah, it's sold out like the first month that she had advertised it. So definitely doing a lot more trips like this in the future. But
Wow.
yeah, very cool stuff.
So it's like, yo, pastries in the morning, get your insulin out.
Yeah, no, yeah, exactly how it works, stuff like that. So um, yeah,
Huh.
pretty cool. But so I say all that to say, sorry, that's where she still has that business going on for her.
Yeah,
So
that's
that's what
incredible.
she's doing. So for our combined business is like I'm doing a lot of the legwork. It's kind of like really my business that she's shifting over to me, but she's still like such an executive mind. Like she's so business savvy. It blows my mind. I kind of struck gold a little bit, dude. I just got
Yeah,
to hold on to
yeah.
dear life.
Seriously, you got a
So,
unicorn on your hands.
yeah, so she'll help make a lot of the administration processes that will follow, a lot of just curating client lists and so on and so forth, and use as a great bouncing wall for creative processes through her and stuff like that. So I'll be doing majority of the editing, actually 100% of the editing, and doing stuff like that, and she'll be kind of more of like the one of the executives, and then still kind of focus on her other businesses as well.
Nice. Very cool.
Yeah.
Personal brand.
Yeah.
What do you want? What do you want to do with that?
Yeah, continue to grow it. I mean, like I said, I haven't posted in 6 months, so that's kind of an L. The thing with personal brands or just any brand on social media is staying consistent. Consistency is so important, because that's part of how you earn the trust of your viewership a little bit, but
Oh, you're
it's
so right.
so important. And me going on these long hiatuses, definitely it takes steam to like build that viewership back up. Because I mean, the reality is like it's so hard to like truly predict the algorithm. You can do so many things to set in your favor, but at the end of the day, like a viral video is a viral video for like so many factors, and you can only control like a few of them, you know? Like I have a couple videos that have hit 1 million views, and I spent 5 minutes working on it. And
Right.
I've had videos I spent 3 days working on it. I was so proud of it, and I got like maybe 1,000 views. I was like, God damn it, you know. And there's such like, dude, it I'm sure you can relate, but like when you're so proud of something, when you've put so much effort and energy into something and it does like so poorly, it feels like such a slap in the face because I'm so proud of it. I want people to see it and vibe with it as well. And then for something that I spent like 5 minutes on, like a stupid little joke, and it gets 1 million views, you're like, oh my God, dude, fuck you.
For
um,
sure.
but it's also it's cool. So it's about for me, my personal brand. What it looks like is continue to grow the audience and trying to I don't want to say like influence level for sure, but I used it for so long as a therapeutic emotional outlet, now creative outlet. It's kind of like just creating stuff for fun so that I'm sharp for video editing, and
Mm.
I'm kind of aware of like trends and stuff like that, and I can take more risks on mine because it's my personal brand. Who cares? So I can try different stuff that maybe I can present to clients, but also just trying to find sponsorships and do stuff with that. So my personal brand right now is I do like a lot of comedy, but I also do like a lot of nerdy stuff, and that was like hobbies and stuff that I like kind of like I had talked earlier, kind of repressed my interest for those because I was so worried that people would tell me it's not cool. Like you're like you play Magic the Gathering, dude. What the hell? You know what I mean?
Mm.
Like,
Sure.
but now, yeah, I don't. It doesn't bother me anymore. I feel so liberating and like free to like be able to enjoy like my interests and hobbies out in the open. So continue to have fun with that. I actually got like a painting teacher recently, like a painting coach. Um, his name's Izzy. He has his Instagram is like Izzy Studios. He's won hundreds of like painting competitions. His full time job is that he paints for. Are you familiar with Warhammer?
Yeah. Yeah. Like the
Yeah,
video game.
yeah. So it's also a board game. That's how it originally started. It's a tabletop
Oh.
game. I don't know how familiar with that you are. It South Park made fun of it like recently.
Oh,
It's
did they?
super nerdy. It's been around since the '80s, but it's called a miniature war game. So essentially, it's like imagine like a giant chess game essentially, but you
Okay.
can choose your chess pieces. So
Hmm.
instead of being limited to only 2 knights, you could have 3 knights, but they cost X amount of dollars. So
Hmm.
if you take 3 knights, you can only take 4 pawns. That's kind of how it works. But anyways, you show up, you have these large scale battles in this fantasy world. But so
I
there's a
love it.
lot of these figures like these that you play with. They come unmade in plastic that you have to put together and paint and do stuff like that. So what he
Like
does
it's
for
like
this
fully
company,
invested. Like you're in if you're
yeah,
doing this. Yeah.
and
Okay.
they are not, dude. They are not cheap. It is actually insane how expensive they are for an entire army to play a regular game over $1,000.
Woo!
Yeah, and that's not even including you have to build them. So that's just for the base plastic. You still have to build them, paint them, put them together, base them, do all that stuff, which is money in its own right as well. So he was uh, he was like on the ground level, got in with this company, was like one of the OG painting companies that people could commission to paint armies for them. So they could either send in their guys and they would paint them, or they would build them and paint them and base them. So, anyways, he does that full time. And he's the fucking man. He's cool. And I took one of his painting seminars on airbrushing, which I've been airbrushing for like 3 years. So I felt like pretty confident in it, but it was like a beginner class, and there were some things where I was like, oh shit, I've been airbrushing for 3 years. I'm not done that once. I didn't. There's things you learn, so I asked him if he would be my painting coach, because I want to enter into painting competitions and do stuff like that's where my personal brand will kind of lead to. Like definitely comedy side, but more in like the nerdy realm. Continue to make like goofy, nerdy comedy videos and just comedy videos in general. But YouTube will be more long-term format, like painting competition videos or just nerdy hobby videos, so on and so forth. And he's going to help me really try to harness my skill and get better at that, so I can go to some of these painting competitions or really, put my work out there in the open.
Wow. I can
Yeah.
definitely see the painting thing being cool, especially if you ever were to like track the journey where you're like, this is how I was, this is how I am. Now I'm in this competition, and people can kind of get invested in that journey. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. Well, it's also just to like there are like a lot of niches in the internet because it's so big, it's so vast. So like really cornering a niche is a great way to find your audience instead of being broad. Now, obviously when you're broad, you cast a wider net.
Right.
So I do think that you'll get more eyes, but I do think you'll earn a more loyal follower if you niche down because you'll be known as the X, Y, and Z guy. It's like, oh, I'll go to his content because I know I'm going to get out of it. It's the X, Y, and Z guy. Obviously, there's cons to that as well because if you're known as the X, Y, and Z guy, then it sucks to put yourself in a category.
Sure.
So I'm trying to stay broad on my TikTok, but niche down on maybe Instagram and YouTube is my plan.
You're giving me so much to think about. Just
Yeah.
selfishly for the pod and for what I'm doing. It's just a lot to think about. It's weird right now because I'm a one-man show.
Yeah. You need a lookup guy, dude.
I know. Well, I can't pay anyone. So any lookup guys out there who are looking for some slave labor, I got you.
It's going to be great exposure. You're going to learn so much. Great internship.
Right. That's right. An internship. It's an unpaid internship.
That's right. You're going to learn so much.
I will tell you to do things, and you will make them happen. And if you're looking things up, you might as well do my social media for me. So you might as well do that.
Right.
Yeah. Well,
yeah.
Go on.
No, I was just going to... sorry, you go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, like, when I think about, like, this show... So, remember... When you were asking me, you're like, yeah, what the fuck are we doing on this podcast? When you text me, you're like, yeah, what's the deal? So I'm definitely starting to hone in more on the community aspect. And, I've had some return guests and that sort of thing. Like Lisa's been on twice.
Oh, nice.
Cause she's got a foodie Instagram. My wife, I think, has done 3 because she's a yoga teacher and she's also there if I need a guest. I do a couple solo episodes where like people can track my shit and what I'm doing because I've got all this fitness bullshit that I do. And then, but generally speaking, like when we talked beforehand and you were telling me, because I had no clue, like I said, oh yeah, my wife and I, or my fiance and I, we got this business and we're launching it. And you like check every single box for at least what I'm looking for in a guest. And I just wanted to have you on because I liked the shit that I saw and I was like, oh, this would be fun. But
yeah, fair enough.
So you, by luck, check all the boxes. But the idea being it's people who are in the process of getting to where they want to be. So, when you read a book, and you don't read too many self-help books, but like if you read a book and it can be about someone's journey about how they became a professional or whatever. And maybe there's a chapter or a few paragraphs or a sub-chapter where it talks about, and then for 5 years I buckled down and did a bunch of work and then I got this breakthrough. And maybe they list a couple of the other things that happened in between. But that, I feel like, is what this podcast is right now. It's the people who are in the shit and they're not quite where they want to be, but they've got the vision. And I feel like if they come on here and they talk about it and we put intention to it and I help them flesh out some of the stuff, God willing, if I'm a good host, I help them flesh out some of the things that when they go back to what they're doing, they come back with, renewed effort and motivation and dedication. And then maybe I have them on, again, however many months down the line. Like the most recent episode I did, my buddy Dan Hopwood, he ran cross country with us.
Yeah, holy shit, forgot about him.
Yeah, great above you. He lives in Singapore right now.
Damn.
And yeah, crazy. He lives in Singapore, and long story short, he moved there to create a supplement company for hybrid athletes. Think like CrossFit, but there's this other competition called High Rocks, and they have found a supplement that is very niche and that is not on the market. And I had him on. He was like, I don't know, my 12th guest, and then he was just my like 33rd or whatever. This was like some along those lines, and he was gonna fucking make the product whether he was on my show or not. Let's get that straight. Like, he was on that
Yeah.
path. So let's make that perfectly clear. But it was cool because the first time he was on the show, they were testing product and trying to find manufacturer, trying to find developers and that sort of thing. The second time he was on, they have product that has shipped to them. It is their first wave, and they're about to start selling in Singapore. They have
Holy
however many,
shit.
1,000+ boxes or whatever. And so I think that I'm pitching you my show as you're on it, but I think that is like the essence of it, where it's like, you're basically, it's come up season on Fowler and Friends, and we're all fucking coming hard. And
Pause.
Jarvis,
Cut that.
we're all coming together, and we're coming up, and it's awesome. And so,
Yeah.
and so that is the niche. But I feel like for a while, to your point, I was just like fucking Marco Poloing around. And it was hard because, a couple times I had people who were like professionals, like doctors or whatever. And, I got my interview hat on. I'm fucking locked in. But I'm not being very animated. Maybe I am, and maybe I'm being critical. But I feel like an episode like this, we've been having a blast. And this is like much more the vibe where it's like,
Yeah, well, speak for yourself.
yeah. Peyton's having a shit time. I'm having a great time.
Yeah,
and
I've been looking at the clock this whole time.
That's right. Chick. But yeah. Anyway, so to your point, I very much related about like finding the niche, because I'm like, there's so many podcasts. Like, what am I doing? But at the same time, I really want to create, and so it's like, well, you just keep fucking iterating until you figure out what your thing is. And I feel like the community aspect is really what I'm trying to focus in on now, and just like, let's bring on some awesome people. They're doing awesome shit, and if they want to come back on, and we'll check in where they are, great. And if not, all good. There's more people doing awesome shit out there, and I'll do some solo episodes and keep people posted on what I'm doing, and it'll be swag.
Yeah, well, I mean, if I could give you some food for thought, I think
I'm starving.
Yeah, I think niching down is super beneficial for sure. But I also, back to like categorizing yourself in a box. I don't think you should label yourself as anything or put yourself into anything, because like it's okay for a channel or for anything to grow and to change and develop and become something different. Like, I think if finding your core initial audience for sure is really key. But if you get tired of making like X, Y, and Z video, then don't make X, Y, and Z video. Make something different, and it might not be as well received at first, because again, an audience craves consistency. They crave, like, they want to tune into Jake Fowler and they know what they're going to get from him. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Either it's a good time or it's some help or something like that. Unpredictability could kind of mean like, maybe I'll watch something else because I know what I'm going to get out of that. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
It can hurt for sure, but also as like a content creator too, like content creation burnout is so real. Like, constantly trying to, like, if you're like not super excited to make something, then just like don't make it. Do something else.
For sure.
Be fluid.
That's the nice thing about the podcast, is I do really enjoy it, and I've only committed to doing one bi-weekly. Now, I lucked out with guests the past few weeks, so if I've got a handful of guests and I don't want if there's something relevant in the podcast to current times, I want to drop it sooner rather than later, so I'll drop something. So that's the nice thing, is I do love doing the pod. It's the fucking social media and editing and promoting it that is just a fucking bitch.
Yeah, I'm sure. But, just consistency is so key. Just like keep uploading, keep trudging through.
Yep.
Your videos. The beginning steps are always the hardest, because um, people following channels are so weird sometimes because if you see like, and I'm guilty of this too. Maybe you are as well. Like if you find something funny, then you click on the profile, it's got 100 followers. You're like, nah, you know, you're like,
Right.
fuck it, I don't care. Or a few followers. Like people with large followings will gain followers easier.
Yes,
You know,
it's exponential. Uh-huh.
yeah, for sure. So, it's so hard starting out, but once you like start growing, it will, like you said, it's exponential. So, it'll continue to ramp up, and part of that is consistency, just like constantly posting, getting your reps in.
Yeah, getting your reps in, that's true. And the nice thing is I'm confident that I won't stop. Like
Yeah.
I have no desire to stop. And in fact, like I have a bit of chip on my shoulder, just like I'm not gonna fucking do it.
Yeah.
And
That's good. You need a chip, dude.
yes, you need a chip. It's very useful to have one. It's very useful to have one.
Yeah.
Um, getting back, what other sort of so Warhammer? I only know about that because you know who Henry Cavill is?
Of course. He's
Okay.
our in the nerdy community, dude. He's our god.
Yes, he is. He
People
is, and
bow down to him.
he should be. And so you're well aware that he's super into Warhammer.
Yeah.
Yes, and I heard that he was cast in a Warhammer movie TV project, something like
Yeah,
that.
not only is he cast, he's like help producing slash leading the creative direction of it as well.
Which is good because uh, my understanding is that that's why he left Witcher, is because they were going off of source material, and he
Yeah.
was a big fan of Witcher and was not thrilled that they were not sticking with that.
Well, Witcher is one of my favorite series of all time. He the whole thing with that was it's so funny. The video games are like what I love, but
Uh-huh.
the video games are like a fanfic of the books because the books are kind of like I mean, I don't want to bash on the author. They are pretty dry, but they are
I
what.
read one of the books and it was a little dry.
Yeah, it's lacking something for sure. But the books are basically kind of like a bunch of short stories of like Geralt and his adventures, and the video games are like a fanfic of like bringing some of that to life slash like taking their own creative direction, like how Game of Thrones did after George Martin, after
Yes,
they separated from the books. That's kind of
yes.
like what the video games are of like, all right.
Except the video games actually did a good job.
Yeah, no, they did a
Yeah.
really good job. So that's Henry Cavill is that, but the writers of Netflix decided they wanted to create their own thing, so they didn't like the books and they didn't want to do anything after the video modeled after the video games. They wanted to do their own thing, so they're kind of doing their own fanfic. But people were upset by that because they didn't love the fanfic the video games had created, and that was their ideal Witcher universe. So they went away with that. They said the video games and books were stupid. The writers did. It's like, damn,
Right.
like you can't be saying that shit.
Can't be
So
doing that.
anyways, yeah, he went away from that, and so the whole, to your point, like with the whole Warhammer universe, is like having somebody who's like a fan of the universe, like being in such like an executive position, will hopefully really help. I just know though that like me personally, I don't have a lot of high hopes just because like some of these, like, I don't know if you know, Games Workshop is like this British company that owns this this universe, and there's already like so much like red tape surrounding that stuff. I mean, dude, to play the game it costs over $1,000. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
it's already an insane corporation. So I can only imagine like there's probably, even for like the good people in executive positions, like I assume Henry Cavill is, so much red tape, so much like corporate BS to go through. It'll definitely be an uphill battle, I would imagine.
Dang.
Hmm.
Gotcha. Yeah, I haven't played any Warhammer stuff. I have seen some cinematics that look sick though.
Dude, I mean, the universe is pretty cool too. I could geek out about that, but I got into this stuff when I was in high school, when I
Okay.
was running cross country with like me and Nar. Would go
Nice.
to like these game stores. We play Magic the Gathering. We would, I try to get them into Warhammer. They weren't about it. It was a high price point, so I don't blame
Sure.
them. So I kind of played that by myself too. But dude, the really cool thing about this stuff is there are really big communities that surround them.
Oh yeah.
So, have you ever been to like a board game shop or a hobby shop before?
Yes.
There's a lot that are built for like miniature war games like this,
Hmm.
that have like huge like storefront, and in the back is like a warehouse with a bunch of tables that people
Yes,
show up, play the games.
I've been to
Really
one of
cool.
those.
Yeah, one of the ones I go to, the Mighty Meeple, they have like a bar in it, so you can go there. You can drink a little, you can play some games, meet people. They have like a Discord as well, so you can like meet people online and like meet up to play games. Really cool. Just like the sense of community as well is an awesome piece of it. So for me, like with my personal brand, what I've been growing is just like really trying to like continue to grow that and continue to meet people online that are like interested in the same stuff that I am, and you know, do collaborations. I've actually met like a couple friends through social media, just because they're doing posting similar things and they were
Mm,
cool. So we'll play like Magic the Gathering online against each other. We'll do stuff like that, just like some virtual friends.
very
Uh,
nice.
yeah.
That's cool. What other, so Magic the Gathering, Warhammer, what other sort of stuff you into?
Anything. I mean, just like there's a bunch of like miniature war games besides Warhammer that you can get into. There's like Star Wars ones. Those are like vaguely popular. You can get into that. Trying to look over at my desk because I have so many like paints out for them. Um, yeah, there's just like a lot of them. One that's really big right now, which is really cool. This is like I don't know if this is where you thought the pod was going to go, but
I'm so
the
into it.
uh, the evolution of like how games are being developed. So to give you as an outsider perspective as what you are now looking in, uh, Warhammer is kind of like the Amazon of this industry where they really dominate it. They are like the major and only one like miniature war game. There's hundreds and thousands of war games out there, but very few people play it, and now with like Discord and stuff like that, it's easier to find communities for these niche programs, but Warhammer is kind of the dominant one. And for many reasons, great advertising products, so on and so forth. Well, there's a new one that hit the market. It's called Trench Crusade. And it was a Kickstarter that got fully funded and they got like a couple $1 million because people are like really interested in the idea. The concept of it is like Templar Knights accidentally opened a portal to hell in the 1400s during the Crusade, and they've not been able to close it since. So now, flash forwards hundreds and hundreds of years later, it's World War One, 1915, and it's like the influence that the portal to hell has had on the world. They're fighting like great wars. There's armies, so it's like got that World War One like trench aesthetic to it, where you got like people that are in like World War One garb, but they also have like a like knightly like look to them. Maybe they have a helmet, they have like a knightly shield and sword, or they have like a shield and like a Tommy gun. Like, dude, it's
I'm
so metal.
sold.
Yeah.
Sold. That's badass. Are there like demons and shit?
Oh yeah, yeah. You can play like a demon army. Yeah, there's like so it's really cool. But what makes it unique is that they were one of the first wargaming companies to allow you to use 3D printers. So I don't know what you know about 3D printers, but they are like kind of like a taboo in this industry.
Oh,
When
okay.
I first started creating on my social media, I was showcasing what really cool things you could do with a 3D printer and how you could save so much money because again, Warhammer Army costs like over $1,000. 3D printer, like a top of the line one, costs 500. But if you want to go cheapo, get like $150 one. Basically, does the same thing, and you can start printing out these suckers for nickels and dimes compared to like buying these things for like $50 a pop. You know, so
Wow.
I have a couple 3D printers at my house. It's a learning curve. It's a hobby in itself, but they're really useful. And so what this was really cool. This hobby said instead of like gatekeeping our products and putting a huge price tag upon it, like you can only have this Templar Knight if you give us $25. It's like actually we'll just sell you the digital file for $10 and print as much as you want, so you can have as many variations or do whatever. They encourage proxies, so other artists online can create their variation of what it would look like, and the game's like, go ahead and play, do that. Like that's okay. Where like a game like Games Workshop and Warhammer, it's like if you show up to an official Games Workshop store with a 3D printed model, they'll kick you out. Yeah,
Wow.
it's like
It's
such a taboo.
hardcore.
Yeah, and it's so funny too because I got into a controversy online with British people because they love this company. They love Games Workshop. So I was talking about how now a little bit of it is stealing the IP, which is I don't necessarily condone that. Like there are files online which are literally the 3D scan of the actual product, and you can just print that at home. That is stealing the product, you know. But you can like, there's a lot of artists that'll do their own renditions and stuff like that online, which are really cool to print.
Sure.
And dude, British people were coming through my neck, dude. They did not like that. They were like, "Bloody hell!" in the comments sections, dude. They did not like 3D printers. They only like buying from the source, and they're telling if you use 3D printers, you're going to put local hobby shops out of business. But you know that it's not true. But
Those
anything
limey
to put someone
gits.
else down. What's that?
I said those limey gits.
Yeah. Yeah, right. But no, it's cool. So, anyways, Trench Crusade, first miniature wargaming company to allow you to just buy the files digitally, print them at home, or do whatever you want with it. And it's grown such like a quickest following, where it's just like we're seeing such a shift in the industry, where it's just like all these like mom and pop and like little small like games can get huge followings because they're so accessible. Like you can there's not a huge price tag attached to it. It costs like $50 to play the game, and that's all you need.
Love
It's
it.
really cool. Yeah.
Very nice. That's cool. I mean, listen, I'm a sucker for a cool lore.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And a pit of hell that opened during the Crusades that then stays open until World War One. You've got like Knights Templar with machine guns with fighting demons. Like,
Dude, it's sweet. My army that I play, which is so cool because you can play. There's so many factions. There's like demons, like people that devoted themselves to hell. They're like, fuck it, you know what I mean? Like there's
I'm selling
heretics.
my soul to Satan.
Uh, yeah, my the faction I play are like the religious zealots. They're like so overly religious, so uh they have like knights, like little pilgrims with like metal pointy helmets that are like got nothing rushing into battle but like a sword, because they're just like the power of God's on my side, like
Nice.
so much fodder. And then you have like priests in the background. It's cool. The aesthetic's cool. I'll have to show you, but
Definitely.
not to bend your ear on that, but
No, no,
that's
for sure. As soon as you said you were into like more geeky stuff, because that's something I've been trying to bring out a little bit more. Because sometimes, like, I'm still like so into like Marvel and a handful of other things, but I have no one to talk to about it.
yeah.
And my wife the other day, this was so funny. I said something to her about the most recent Marvel movie, and she was like, "Yeah, like why did they even do that?" And then she said some shit to me. I'm like, did you just recycle things that I have told to you already and say it back to me? She's like, well, I do believe that, but you're the only person whose opinion I hear about these things are. And like, I have my own opinion, but sometimes you just talk about it so much that it's just like, I kind of just take it in. I'm like, oh, God damn it. All right. Well,
Yeah.
so it's good to just, even though I don't know about this shit, it's fun just to have an outlet to talk about geeky stuff with.
Yeah, for
I'm
sure.
super
I
here
mean,
for it.
like, just for me personally, just like I said, like the sense of community, finding other people. Because, like I said, a lot of this, like, interests I had kind of like stuffed down because I was like, it's not cool. I can't talk about it. You know what I mean? Like, I was fearful of other people's opinion. And, like, part of it was therapy, but also just like, and finding Christina and like being in a relationship where you truly feel like you can be yourself. Like in previous relationships, I was trying to be like the cool, funny guy, and now I
Mm,
can just be myself and like have these interests. And she's like fully supportive. Like she loves I'm interested in these things, and w- loves that I go to these hobby shops, and encourages it, quite frankly. So, um, you know, I definitely, if you can find a sense of community too, other people that
yes.
are into Marvel. Like there is a Marvel miniature war game called Marvel. I think like Apocalypse Protocol or something like that.
Mm,
You get like a little army of different Marvel superheroes, and you have to duke it out. It's pretty cool.
nice. Very cool. Apocalypse Now. I can already Apocalypse is a character, so I can assume what that's about. But that's awesome. Yeah, no, I mean that community. And what's cool, what you just said about your soon-to-be wife, your fiance. She said, like you said in previous relationships, you were trying to be the cool, funny guy. well, now you can actually just kind of be the cool, funny guy, but it's just, it's not an act anymore. It's just you do what you think is cool and you're funny. And so,
Yeah.
in a certain sense, you get to have your cake and eat it too, but you're not putting on a facade for what you think the other person thinks is cool and funny, which is great.
Right. There's no mask. I
Right.
think that there's like it's very freeing to just feel fully supported, just like be yourself. It's yeah. I
It,
hope that everybody can find that. You know.
definitely, definitely. Well, my wife, when we first started dating at OU, I had a stack of comic books, and most of them were my dad's old comics from when, like the 70s or whatever. And I was just showing them to her, and she was like, "These are so cool. I really like these." I was like, "What, you like these?" And then obviously I'm like, "Well, you've opened the can of worms. I'm now
Yeah.
going to show you every single one. You'll now know the backstory and the lore for every single one. And look, this
Right.
is when these characters meet for the first time." And but yeah, she was very supportive, and to this day still is. And it is a very special thing when all of a sudden you can just be like, "Whoa! Well, here's all the shit that I'm into.
Yeah.
All I needed was a gentle poke, and now we're there. So
Yeah.
enjoy."
Dude, it's so cool too. Like, um, I'm sure Lisa's not super as much into Marvel, but Maggie is obsessed. So, like, anytime there's a new movie, like, we can discuss it, and I'll be like, "Oh, that actually happened in a comic book. Like, it happened in this issue." And she's like, "Oh, really?" Like, she's really invested as well into like a lot of these characters. Like, it's cool, like confiding in other people that have the same interests.
That is awesome. I
Yeah,
need someone to watch these movies when they come out, and then we need to do a podcast right after.
yeah,
That is what I need. I'm putting that out into the universe. Putting that into the universe.
yeah. Have you
That
seen some of the more recent Marvel movies like Thunderbolts?
I've seen them all. I've seen them all,
Yeah,
dude.
fair enough, fair enough.
I am the only Marvel movie I didn't see in theaters, and I waited until Disney Plus was going to be the Marvels. And I still listen to the news about the production, so like I have a general idea of like what is going on as it's being filmed, what's going on in post production, that sort of things. And I knew before that movie came out, and I usually don't judge, but I'm like, this is gonna be a dog shit movie. We know it's gonna happen. It's not gonna be good,
Yeah,
and it's not. But it is so entertaining. It is so entertaining. It's a terrible movie. Like
yeah,
the CGI for a movie that cost about $270 million is not good. There's no character. The villain is so dumb. The plot is terrible, and the things that happen. One of the plot points is actually a plot point from the movie Spaceballs, which is making fun of
really.
sci-fi movies and shit. And so it's so bad, but it's so entertaining. It is so entertaining. So shout out the
Damn.
Marvels for being delicious garbage. But
So, as a true Marvel fan, then like are you upset with like the recent quality of the movies? Like, do you feel the discourse online? Do you agree with it, or like what are your thoughts and feelings?
yeah, yeah. So my thoughts and feelings are there has been a general drop in quality since Endgame due to a handful of factors. One being they just tried to do too much with Disney Plus. So they just put way too much content out, or tried to put too much content out. So I think they were spread too thin, and I think they were just giving people jobs who just didn't really have that much experience, like directing and writing. I think they were kind of like casting directors and casting writers, as
Mm,
opposed to like hiring people with any sort of ability, unfortunately.
yeah.
Um, and then COVID also hit right after Endgame, because Endgame was summer 2019. So
Damn, that's right.
you had all these productions that were announced. Some had to be delayed because they were either mid filming or about to film. And then some were had already filmed, but they had to sit on them for a while because of plot elements that happen in universe, and so that really fucked them. And then their actor the actor who they cast as the villain King the Conqueror, Jonathan Majors,
Yeah.
got into
That whole
legal
fiasco.
trouble. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a whole thing. And so then he got fired, which sucked because he was in 2 seasons of Loki and Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, which was supposed to be like Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania was like, boom, this is the new villain. This is where we're going. And then that movie underperformed in the box office, and then the actor got into legal trouble, so then they fired him. So that movie just kind of suffered even post release because of that. Like, sometimes a movie will release and then fans will love it, and so even if it doesn't do that well at the box office, they'll catch up on Disney Plus, buy it on digital, whatever. It gets a big following, and then whenever the team up movie is, benefits from the following that it built. Well, none of the shit that they've released has had that impact outside of Spider-Man No Way Home, which did almost 2 billion. It was like 1.9 because it had all 3 Spider-Men from,
Yeah, that was fucking sick.
yeah, Cash Money. I mean, that's just like
Yeah.
printing money.
Easy layup.
Easy layup, easy layup. And there was a couple of things they did with the plot with those other 2 Spider-Men that was smart. But yeah, they just, the most recent Captain America, it depends on what you believe. And so now, then, if you want to talk about the online community, there was like a group of, we'll call them critics or reviewers, that kind of got their YouTube paycheck from being critical of wokeness in Marvel movies. To a certain degree, correct, but then to a certain degree, they lean on that too heavily, and then there's people who are still fans, and then there's channels that have come up critiquing those channels, and it just goes on into oblivion. So at the end of the day, the most recent Captain America movie, Disney says it cost $180 million to make, which is bullshit. It's probably closer to like 350 because they reshot it like
Damn.
twice because it was impacted by the writer's strike that happened a couple of years ago. And they shot the movie, writer's strike happened, they reshot, and then they had to do reshoots for the reshoots to blend the 2 different movies that they shot together. And then they had like a couple weeks extra. There's like another reshoot that they didn't reshoot the whole movie, but did some pickup scenes. So basically 4 different shoots happened for that movie, and it suffers greatly from it. And it didn't do well at the box office. And so this most recent one, Thunderbolts, was fucking swag. Best movie since Endgame. That's my
Yeah,
opinion.
for sure.
You,
For
did
sure
you saw
was.
it?
Yeah, I saw it in theaters with my baby sister. We both
Yes.
thought the same thing.
Yes. Best movie since Endgame. It was better than Spider-Man No Way Home.
Yeah,
Um,
it was so good.
it
Just
was
so well written.
so well written. It was very good, and and the post credit scene actually was relevant and got me hype for what's coming. So fingers crossed for Fantastic Four. That's all I can say, bro.
Yeah,
Fingers
right.
fucking crossed.
They gotta land the plane on that one for
Yeah,
sure.
they have
Uh
to. They have to. Apparently, pre-ticket sales have been strong, um, which is good. And it's so funny because, like, as a fan, I'm like, I hope it does good on the box office, which is so dumb because it's like either the
yeah.
movie is good or it isn't. But I just want it to do well so that they can like keep making these and hopefully they're good. Because they need this next fucking Avengers movie is going to be like $500 million at least, probably to shoot and then
Damn.
to market. I mean, who knows? Because there's so many fucking actors in it. The checks they're writing for just the actors alone have to be at like 100 million plus.
It's
Like that.
definitely something insane for sure.
Yeah.
I
So
don't know, it's so hard. I mean, like losing your like I would say like 2 cornerstone characters in Endgame, like Captain
yep,
America and Iron Man.
yep,
Like those are just 2 hard losses. To
yep.
do like the team shoot up movie without like your cornerstones, like going to be
Yes.
hard.
Yeah, and they killed off Black Widow in that movie, and
Oh
Chadwick
yeah.
Boseman died in real life.
Wait, really?
Yes, the actor who
Oh
played
wait, no,
Black
yeah, sorry for
Panther.
Black
Yes.
Panther. Sorry, I was thinking of War Machine for some reason.
No, Don Cheadle's
Um,
still alive.
yeah, yeah. I was
Yeah.
like, wait, what the fuck? We
No,
lost Dawn.
no. Yeah, so that also fucked things up with Chadwick Boseman dying. Rest in peace,
Yeah, that
obviously.
sucks. Yeah, because
That's
Black
just like
Panther was awesome.
that's just a tough deal from the universe. But
Yeah, for sure. I do think that's a really interesting point. I do agree with that. Like how what you said about just like trying to do too much, like just spreading yourself too thin. Like with Disney Plus, I definitely feel like the same thing with like Star Wars. Like Disney
Yep.
has really like diluted a lot. Where it's
Yep.
like there's definitely some like diamonds in the rough. Like Andor was really good, but
Yes, I
like
saw the first season. I heard the second season was awesome.
yeah, I haven't watched the second season yet. It's just like always something new to watch. I'm
Yep.
like super into anime, so that kind of takes up a lot of my time now instead of
Sure.
watching some of the other shows. But um, yeah, I don't know. Hopefully, Fantastic Four lands a plane, but it's got Pedro Pascal, dude. I mean, come on.
Yeah. Right. Right. Yeah. I'm hoping. I'm hoping he really shines.
Yeah, man.
Yeah. So fingers crossed, and we'll see. I mean, that. Do you remember? Did you see the second Black Panther movie?
No.
Okay. Well, I don't know if this is a hot take or not, but they introduced a character who is only recent to the comics, and she kind of sucks in the comics too. Named
Oh,
Riri.
Ironheart.
Yeah, fucking so bad. She
Really?
was so bad in that movie.
Damn.
And it's not the actress's fault. I'm sure the actress is great. The character just sucked. And that movie was already 2 hours and 40 minutes long. And they could have just cut her right the fuck out of the plot. Uh, they filmed a show for her. She's got it. It's coming on Disney Plus June 24th or something. They filmed this bitch like 2 years ago, and they've just
Wow.
been sitting on it. I think it's because they know it sucks, and
Damn.
and that's my opinion. I hope I'm wrong. I hope it's great. I hope it's awesome. But they're also it's only 6 episodes. They're dropping the first three on the release date, and then they'll do the fourth, fifth, sixth after that, I assume.
Yeah, makes sense.
And so I just don't think they have faith in the project, and that's why they're not doing like a once a week sort of thing, and they're doing three dump, get you deep into the plot so you're invested. I could be wrong. I could be
Yeah.
totally wrong, but she sucked. The character sucked in Black Panther 2, and they've been holding on to this shit for 2 years. I have no hope. But
Yeah, well, they probably wrote her in because they knew they were going to do the series, right? So it's like, well, you got to include her in Black Panthers, and then we can't
yep,
just introduce her out of blue. She gets her own series.
yep,
But yeah, if they've been sitting on it for this long, it's never a good sign for sure.
yeah, yeah. So we'll see. But I appreciate you for indulging me in a Marvel rant, Payton. That's very kind of you.
Dude, you listen to my Trench Crusade, but I am interested in Marvel. I do like that stuff as well.
Yeah, it's cool. And I'm not as invested, but I still, I mean, I've got DC Comics as well. I hope the new Superman movie does well this July as well.
James Gunn, save us,
Yeah.
deliver us, James Gunn.
Yes.
James Gunn, if you can hear us.
Yes. I support 100%. I've been happy with the trailers. So,
Dude, Robert Pattinson's Batman. Like that, direction DC's going. I remember when that movie first came out. I got super high with my buddy, and we had Christina drive us to the movie theater, and we had like it was sold out, so we got the shittiest seats. We're like in the front row, like looking up, and like the opening scene where I
it's
was
the
just
best
like,
part.
I'm sold, dude. I was like, I'm so ready for this. They
Yes.
fear me. I was
Yes.
like, let's fucking go.
Yeah. And he just like beats the fuck out of that dude's face for like
Yeah.
30 punches. Oh, it's so
Yeah.
good. No, what I loved about that, especially the opening, was it showed the perspective of the different criminals, right? All looking into the shadows with fear on their face,
Yeah.
and which is exactly how it should be. Like immediately I was like, "Oh, they get it." Like the bat signal is up. They're all afraid of him. And then eventually you land on the one where he's actually there, and then you see the interaction. And it's in like we're like 10 minutes into the movie, and I also got stoned by myself. I drove myself, got
Yeah.
high in the parking lot, and then walked in. And because my wife is not a Batman fan, it's one of my
Okay,
pet
that's fair.
peeves. It's all right, but whatever. But
He's like one of the best superheroes. He's
I
so
know
well written.
she thinks he's too dark, and if you think he's too dark, then you're just not gonna like it. So
Yeah, fair enough.
that's how it is. But anyways, yeah, that opening scene, I was so in.
Yeah,
So in.
I felt bad for Christina too because she was super into it. She liked it as well, but like being between like two Marvel geeks that are also like stoned, like that had to be a nightmare. That's like nightmare rotation right there for sure. Like because we're like, dude, that's like from the one thing, you know.
Yeah, right. Just like stringing together references that are so
Yeah,
obscure. It's like
it's
I
like
can't follow
shut the fuck up.
this.
Yeah.
That's so funny. Well, dude, we're getting close to my cutoff time. Is
Yeah.
there anything that you wanna say to these folks before we cut it? Any Instagram channels, YouTube, any shit you want to promote?
Yeah, you can follow me on Paint with Payton on my Instagram, on TikTok. It's Evil Payton. Um, so just Evil Payton, no spaces, caps, or anything. Pretty simple. If you're into nerdy time hobbies like that, or just like looking for a good laugh, TikTok's good for that. Feel free to follow me, follow around the journey. Like I said, I'm getting into paint competitions, doing stuff like that. My TikTok will mostly just be like funny videos, but on Instagram and YouTube, you can follow the journey around that. And yeah.
Nice. What about the business page?
Yeah, of course. Business page, we're still looking at that, roboco.com for now, but that's
Cool.
likely to change. So, maybe if I come back on the pod in like 20 episodes, 30, 50 from now, who knows, dude? Maybe I'll have a website for you.
That's so funny. Yeah, dude, you're welcome back anytime, bro. This was so good catching up.
Yeah, you too, man.
I hope you had a good time. I know I definitely did, but we can say goodbye offline. But for now, peace, folks.
Yeah, see you, everybody.
What's up, everybody? It's Jake here, Fowler and Friends. Thank you so much for supporting the channel. Really means a lot to me and all of us over here at Fowler and Friends. So if you could please like, subscribe, comment, do all of that. But definitely subscribe, share the videos with your friends, and keep on supporting the channel. Thank you so much, and we'll catch you on the next one. Later!